All right, and welcome everybody. Welcome Arvanauts. No intro music today. I didn't want to do this sort of general intro music because it didn't sound appropriate, but I also don't want to reveal the official Beowulf Age of Heroes music, which is not quite done, because I want to make sure that I reveal all of that in January when we begin with Session 1. But it's good to see everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and is looking forward to what I think is going to be a really fun session today. We're not going to run probably for the full time until 3 o'clock. We will probably run for about, I would guess, 45 minutes to an hour, maybe slightly over. We're going to have a chance to talk to the players about this new system. We're going to talk to all of you about this new system. And then I may or may not play a little bit of Starfield before I head over to GOG.com at 4 p.m. Eastern for Pen and Pixels and the possible conclusion of Solasta Palace of Ice DLC. But today is a little bit more informal Session Zero of Beowulf Age of Heroes. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Before I get there, though, a couple of reminders about ways to support us on the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow the channel. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube. Subscribe to me over there. And if you're watching right now on YouTube, welcome. It's good to see you all. And I hope you will consider jumping on and heading over not just to, first of all, feel free to comment in YouTube, but also please head over to our Twitch channel where you can hang out with us and as we're streaming over here on Twitch TV. The Discord channel is !ArvCord. You can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter is !ArvTweets, and Blue Sky is !ArvSky. That's my social media stuff, and website for that is arvanelleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop is my merchandise area. You can get stuff related to a bunch of stuff, not stuff related to Beowulf yet. We may add that down the line, but at least other related manners, so we'll be able to do that for Expedition for the Mysterious Peak soon. Right now, we have Shire Adventures stuff up there. We also have Eberron Oracle of War up there, and sort of general Arvanelleron stuff there as well, so please support us there. You can also do so by supporting the Patreon, !ArvTreon. You can get cool stuff to help the players, including inspirations for all of the tabletop campaigns, including this one that we do in the course of a month. You can also get cool stuff for yourself and stuff to advance the channel, so that is always a positive thing. With !ArvTreon, plus subbing or resubbing to the channel is a good thing as well, and that will let you get those custom sub badges and emotes to use everywhere across Twitch, and will also allow you to support the channel with those custom various things. So we've got that going on as well. You can, on the publishing side, !Icarus is my graphic novel from Athos Arts. !Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That's my 5e adventure and source book from Alligator Alley Entertainment. And Greyshade, which is my Grey Assassin trilogy. First two books in that series, Greyshade and Renegade, are out now, as is the audiobook from one Tren Sparks, about which more in a moment. You can get those right now at that link. You can also pre-order the tabletop role-playing game of Greyshade being done by Brandon O'Brien, which will be out next year. You can also pre-order the final book of the Grey Assassin trilogy, which I am working on as we speak. That is called Heretic. Easy for me to say, and that'll be out next year, so you can get all that at that Greyshade link. And last but certainly not least, BLM, Black Lives Matter, important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message that we will do so for others in the future in similar situations. So quick note on schedule, Beowulf Age of Heroes Session 0 now at 4 p.m. Again, over at GOG.com's Twitch channel, I will be doing what is either the last or second to last session of Solasta Age of Heroes. Solasta Palace of Ice, that DLC. Then we'll be off Wednesday, Thursday. I'll be back on Friday with Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. That'll be happening Friday night. And then Saturday, we've got some more Starfield coming at you, which should be a good time. And next week, we have a big week next week. We have the holiday stream on Monday, Christmas Day, with my family, Mrs. Arv, Little Arv, and Mini Arv, playing a game for all of you lovely folks. We'll be off so that'll be the 25th. Tuesday, we'll be back here with the Patreon-fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month. And while I am on that subject, definitely get your votes in now, because right now, after this session today is when we're going to be closing that down. The vote right now is between Dungeon Siege, Metal Gear Solid 3, and Expeditions Rome. Dungeon Siege has got 5 votes, Metal Gear Solid 3 has 4 votes, Expeditions Rome has 1 vote. So get your votes in now for the game that you would like me to see me play next Tuesday. And then again, I'll be over on GOG.com next Tuesday afternoon for more of either Solasta or moving on to Tintin Cigars of the Pharaoh. So we've got that. And then I will have that following weekend, so a week from this Friday, basically, I will have the end of the year Game of the Year show talking about the games that we did on Friday. And then I'll be talking about that on Friday. And then on Saturday, we'll have our last stream of the year will be Eberron, Oracle of War, as we hopefully wrap up season 3 of Oracle of War. Very excited for that. I've just sent off the voiceover and script information for the season 4 intro video. So if they're able to survive season 3, it's going to be an interesting time for the Infinity and Beyond crew going out of session 3. So, but with all that said, the time has come. So I'm going to unmute myself and apologize to anyone I might have interrupted. Looks like it might have been Tren. Sorry, Tren. And then I'm going to unmute him. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to come over to reveal. Now get ready, chat. This is the first time ever revealed on stream. It is the overlay. That's right. It is the overlay for Beowulf Age of Heroes. Now, quick note about this before I let these folks introduce themselves. Generally, these two, at least for a while, these two are not going to be together at the same time. This is a duet system, and so that means that they are going to be playing one-on-one with me for most of the time. However, there will be a few crossover events that I foresee, perhaps one around a rather prominent charity event on this channel in May I could see happening, for instance. And so that will use this overlay. But this is the style and design, and it is done by the incredible artist Njorn Jornsson. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. It's not done by that. So it is not in fact that case. You ended up breaking a tie. Nice. Hi, Hillness. Hello, Divinorium. Hello, Triffid. Hello, Dragonspear. But yes, it's my great pleasure to welcome the two players that are going to be playing in Beowulf Age of Heroes. And I should say, I think this may be the only Beowulf Twitch, like Age of Heroes tabletop Twitch stream that is here. I don't think anyone else has streamed this on Twitch as of yet. Thank you for the follow, Decoy. So I think we're up first, so I'm very excited for it. So I will start by letting these two introduce themselves. Both of them well known to the people, regular viewers of this channel, I hope. Tari, I'll start with you. How are you? How are you feeling? Because I know you've been pumped up about this campaign. First of all, thank you for the incredible art. I hope the chat loves the art that they see because it's amazing, and you're going to see more of this art. We're going to be featuring more of this art today, and of course, you'll see more of it on next month as well. So thank you for the art. And then tell me about this. Like, I know you really haven't cared at all about Beowulf or about these sagas. I know this isn't like of any interest to you personally or like anything like that. How are you feeling about this? How are you doing sagas, and how are you feeling about this? Yeah.
Where's the book? Why do I have too many books on the shelf? God damn it. Somewhere is, oh, there's a Poetic Edda. Here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this, yeah, I'm really into like sagas and stuff. Not specifically Beowulf, mind you, more like into German and Nordic sagas. So like Nibelungen, and yeah, the Eddas and that kind of jazz. And also into historical costuming.
Yes, look at that.
Straight from High Taboo / Hedeby in what is today Schleswig-Holstein, back in the day, Denmark.
Yeah, she actually literally dug it up from there. Like it was a whole archaeological dig.
They took it from a fresh
corpse. You just like
what is that called? Swamp corpses, swamp mummies. Bog body, from a fresh bog body. That was the word.
Bog body, yeah. Perfectly preserved, and I'm sure that you won't be haunted by a curse for the rest of your life as a consequence.
No, this wouldn't be perfectly preserved because it has linen in it, and linen does not get preserved in bog bodies, apparently.
Interesting.
So if there are any garments in like bog bodies found, then it's like usually animal-based fibers, like leather and wool and that kind of jazz.
So that this is otherwise though historically accurate as far as you can tell.
As far as those things go, because like for example, I'm wearing a thing called smocker or apron dress, and all we have of that is like a tiny little fragment about this size from up here, and we don't know what the rest of the thing looks like.
So it literally could just be a triangle. It could just be like a midriff bearing bikini is what you're saying, and we wouldn't know.
I want to say my outfit is plausible.
Plausible. Okay. All right. Well, any of
Like,
you
I
in
don't-
chat,
I-
if you were there at
if
the
I would,
time,
like,
tell her if this is not accurate.
if I ever happen to be time traveling to that era and place, I feel like I wouldn't get too many weird looks for what I'm wearing. Hopefully,
There you go.
so that's like always the thing with like a lot of historical costuming, especially like those eras where there isn't just a lot of like extant garments and findings and whatever. Like a lot of it is just like informed speculation.
Right. Speculation,
Trying to
extrapolation.
like figure out what could be made with the technologies and styles of the time, whatever.
So that's very cool, and I am super excited. I'm going to let Tari introduce her character in a moment, but I want to get Tren to introduce himself first. But yes, so this art that you see was designed, and when I first pitched this, when I knew that Shire Adventures was coming to an end, I pitched this to Tren and Tari for different reasons. I had talked to Tren about this before, and I had said, I think it'd be fun to do a duet system, and Beowulf would be cool. And then I talked to Tari about it, and I was like, so. It's got sagas, and I was thinking with heraldry, and Tari was basically like, "Where do I sign up?" Yes, this sounds amazing.
Wait, heraldry? There's no heraldry.
Yeah, but
heraldry wasn't invented yet.
But it's got all this symbology and like it's Nordic-ish stuff. It just, I don't know. It felt very much up your alley. I mean, like, I feel like that was the thing. They probably wouldn't burn you as a witch, right, Triffid? Yeah, that's the way to look at it. They probably wouldn't.
Also,
burn
didn't really do that a lot in the Middle Ages. That's more of a Renaissance thing and stuff.
They would
like
just bury you
witches.
in a bog.
Heretics were like burned a lot, but those weren't like necessarily burned as witches. Like that was just, oh, you did a heresy. That doesn't automatically make you a witch. That's a different thing.
Yeah, maybe you had to be a witch in some cultures, or they burn you if you weren't a witch. Like if you're like, I'm a normal person, they're like, oh yeah, well, guess what? Time to get burned.
I'm trying to find the manuscript again that I based the there it is. That I based the overlay on. I found the thing. Is there a name?
It's a terrible name.
Yeah, that is a terrible name.
It was known as Pla 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 among the peoples of.
I will find it.
Okay.
I found the book. It doesn't say the name anywhere where I can see it currently.
The level of decoration on the outside reminded me a bit of the Book of Kells, but obviously that's Irish and much later.
Not the
but
Book
it reminded
of Kells.
me of that.
This wait. Where is it? Which I also have a copy of. But no, it's not Book of Kells. No, this is based on an early English Bible. Go on with Tren. I'll go search for it.
So while Tari is searching for the inspiration for this overlay, I will move to the other person who is quite tired but is with us and is soldiering on as best he can. And that, of course, is our dear friend Tren Dane Sparks. It's good to see you, Tren. We just saw you on Saturday, of course, kicking butt and being, shutting down elemental forges in Eberron. But here we have a very different sort of kind of thing. Now, I asked you before, I will let people in on a bit of green room lore, which is that I was like, okay, and then we're going to have a chance to talk about the characters. And Tren's like, well, it's going to be a really short conversation, and we'll talk about why when we actually get to the characters. But I am curious about, maybe I can frame it this way. I know that you love storytelling. I know you obviously love D&D. These are things that you and I both share. But I guess what I wanted to ask was, do you have any kind of like, if you've ever thought about Beowulf at all, does it have any like, does it sort of conjure anything for you, or just like, yeah, it's this thing, high school book that or something like, what is the sense you have of sagas, I guess, is maybe the way to put this.
I don't remember when I read it. And I don't remember if I read like the whole thing or just like an abridged version or something, but aspects of it are just lost to memory from 40 years ago. And so when I try to think about it, a lot of me can't remember what Grendel did that was so damn bad that he was considered a horrible, monstrous creature.
Murdering guys, I think was.
Yeah, it was the murder.
People do that.
It was the murder part that was the problem.
So what?
Yeah. Also destruction of property, but mostly just murder.
The American military.
Well,
right. And let me tell you, if we were doing Age of, it'd be a whole other matter.
Yeah. No, a lot of like, especially in the last day or two, thinking about it as this has been coming up. I've been, and I almost said it during that thing we did on Saturday that I can't do, Eberron, that I almost, when I was referring back to this, like, where are people going to see me again? See me here doing this. And I mentioned that I will probably at some point try to roll to seduce the monster. I mentioned that kind of playfully because it's a steadily rising common meme for especially bards. But then it occurred to me that, not that there is some legitimacy in that statement, but that, like, I never finished Shadow of the Colossus because I had a moral objection to killing those creatures.
Oh yeah. Well, as it turns out, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And
congrats, you actually won the game. You're the one person
Yeah.
in the world
Yeah, you
who
did,
won the
exactly.
game.
You won it over everyone else.
and so that started to kind of seep into the idea of this. It's like, are they that bad? Or, are these monsters? It's like, are they all? And it's like, okay, yeah, Grendel murdered people. Did he have reason to? Because, I mean, we know a lot of people. I mean, not we know a lot of people, but there are a lot of people who murder people, for legitimate reasons, and so just kind of we're talking about, trying to figure out the character concept, and it's going to be a short conversation. This is one of the few things that I can actually think of, is that he may not view these monsters as monsters. It's like they're just misunderstood people. Maybe you guys are, just have a shitty opinion of them, and if you try to, not be dicks about it, maybe they wouldn't murder you. Whatever. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, it's reminding me a little bit of, Geralt, I think, in The Witcher has a similar kind of mind frame where, like, Geralt, his whole job is to kill monsters. And there are some monsters that he's just like, no, you're just bad. Like, you just are really not. And then there are other ones that he's kind of like, yeah, like he spends a lot of time talking to them. And he's like, you just need to not be around civilization. We'll see how that works out here. I will say that I was reading a review of Godzilla -1. And a lot of people were talking about how that really restores the image of almost a Cloverfield style, like, not a sympathetic Godzilla, because it doesn't even get into Godzilla's head, right? Like, it's just, not that any of the movies get into it, but like, there are movies that definitely portray Godzilla more sympathetically. And there are other ones
almost heroically. In a
yeah, right. Especially when it's like, we need Godzilla to fight this other bad monster or whatever. Like, but a lot of it, at least initially, was just, it's this force of nature. Like, we don't think, oh my God, if we defeat this hurricane, what about the hurricane's children, right? Like, we don't think about it in these terms. So for the people of the time, there is a kind of like, it's an environmental disaster. It's it's a background obstacle that needs to be overcome. And the only reason I'm saying all that is that when you talked about this thing about what Grendel did so bad, I mean, I just finished teaching, spring semester, I'm going to be teaching Beowulf. We start out with, so very appropriate. I wonder why I'm doing this game. And then right after that, I jump forward. It's the only time I sort of jump out of chronological order to jump to something else. John Gardner's brilliant book, Grendel, which is telling that exact same story from the perspective of the monster. And it does so without doing any violence to the Beowulf poem, because we get almost nothing about Grendel's like motivations other than just he was of Cain's clan and he could not stand to hear the happiness of the people. Like, it's very kind of like, this is a bad guy, full stop. So it doesn't do any violence to that because it gives you more of his motivation. And it also doesn't remove his monstrousness, because he's obviously more sympathetic because you're in his head, but he's also a monster who does monstrous stuff. Like, he even acknowledges himself, like, I still murdered people that that was bad. I shouldn't have done that. So it's interesting that it doesn't take away some of the evil monstrousness of him, but it does, like, pull out the camera a bit so you can see a little more about what's going on. So anyway, those are things that made me think of when we talk about it.
When you describe him as, he couldn't stand to hear the happiness of the people, I'm like, he's the Grinch.
Yeah. Well, right. That's right. And if they slaughtered the Grinch and then went after the Grinch's mother, you'd have a pretty good Beowulf, like, corollary. That's how they work.
But
so who from Whoville donned his ring-forged mail of,
to finish the my introduction thing.
Yes.
As you mentioned in the stuff while Charlie and I were talking about my sleep schedule, and whatever else we were talking about, something about elves and we're talking about LARPing. There was an anthology of short stories, which may be a little bit redundant, of JPL and Caltech authors called Inner Space and Outer Thoughts, and that is done,
right.
And it is available for pre-order on the site, which I have just linked in chat. If you want to go and get it, it will be available for sale for purchase on January 2nd. But if you want to get it now,
yeah. That's the way to do it. And not only is, of course, Tren involved in that, but also KP from our vocalist fame is also involved in that. So, yeah, that's awesome. I think that's I know it was like kind of your white whale. Like you're just kind of like, God damn it. Like it took a while, but it feels like a project that like, I don't know, that seems, it seems pretty dope to me. Like that's the thing.
Great.
This is pretty awesome.
The stories are awesome.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun to work on. It just, every time I thought I was done with it, they were like, "Could you do this part too?" I'm like,
Every time they got this, they pulled me back in, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, so we are going to I'm going to fire this up, chat. Now, this game that we're going to talk about here comes to us. Have I ever heard Marillion's Grendel song? No, I've heard of Marillion. I have not heard of their Grendel song. No, I should know about this. I would love to hear more.
That just sounds like a surname, Grendel song.
Grendel song, or oh God, what is the Daniel song by Elton John? Just like Grendel is traveling the night on a field. Anyway, no, on a plane, and it still works because he's going over a plane.
Spelling, but yeah,
right. Okay, we're going to be playing here a couple of songs that were brought to us directly from Handiwork Games. Now, I should mention, this is not sponsored officially by Handiwork Games. However, we have permission to use all of the sort of art stuff that Tari did not do. So like the cover that you see here, some of the pictures that we'll show here and there, some of these reference sketches that I sent to Tari as well, and this music I'm going to play. This all is a part of the Beowulf Age of Heroes game from Handiwork Games. The person, John Hodgson, who is the person who founded Handiwork Games, originally was at Cubicle 7. And he was at Cubicle 7 during the time that we were doing Adventures in Middle-earth, which of course connects to both these people. And they did, at the time, Cubicle 7 did sponsor that original Adventures in Middle-earth campaign. And then that led us to the, Free League sponsoring Shire Adventures, which just concluded last month. So we had all of that going on. And so this music that you're about to hear is explicitly given permission to us. So thank you to Handiwork Games for that and for letting us use their art and for playing this very cool game.
Does YouTube know that?
They may not,
and copyright.
and yeah, exactly, and demonetized. Yeah, we will see. I did want to mention too that it's funny you mentioned that because the last few videos that I've done of Starfield have had this thing that's like, it says limited ad visibility because it says may not be suitable for certain advertisers, and they have a thing that says request review, and I'm like, well, you didn't have a problem with the first 13 of these I put up. So I posted them, and like I expected I was going to get this. Well, it was going to take weeks or whatever. Like within 2 days, they're like, good news. We've reviewed the following 4 videos, and they are all suitable for advertiser content. I'm like, that's true.
I know that. Yeah.
I'm glad that there is someone alive that's not AI that's doing this, I guess. But anyway.
Sure.
Okay, so let me fire up a little bit. So this first one is called Rainland, which I think is appropriate. And we use this as our background while we are talking. Rainland is what it felt like yesterday. I'll tell you what, it was pouring out here.
Oh, just like the past 2 months?
Yes, exactly.
Here? Oh my God, I hate the weather here.
So much
The
rain.
Netherlands get the kind of weather that everybody stereotypically thinks England gets.
That's actual Netherlands weather. Chat, how's the sound? Can chat, can you hear audio? The music, okay? Yeah, you hear that?
There's the stream muted, so I don't know.
Okay, so Tren, you hear it? Okay, good. I don't want it to overload. You hear Death and Despair? Sounds about right. No, okay. All right. So we are here to talk about this game, chat, Beowulf Age of Heroes. Beowulf Age of Heroes is based on the 5e rule set. So some of the things will be very similar to you if you're familiar with D&D. So they use a lot of the same statistics. We still get charisma, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, strength, dexterity. We still get hit points. Combat is run in somewhat similar ways. But there are a couple of unique things that I do want to highlight. And again, I'm going to have a lot more illustrations and maps and things for you during next month's session 1. But I do want to show this as an example. So this is where our world, you said, trying to be heard on the microphone. Hold on a second. This is where our world is going to take place. It is called the Whale Road. And in fact, I think one of our number, Echo, do you see yourself on there? You see yourself there?
Hey, I can't see my house from here.
Let me just kind of zoom in right there, right?
Like right there.
Kind of zoom in on that sort of stuff. So that's you see it, yeah. So that's the Whale Road, and the Whale Road is where our story is going to take place. It is important to recognize a little bit that in this time there is this constellation of tiny kingdoms that are all set in the Whale Road. And if you are familiar with the tale of Beowulf, you will know that Beowulf sails from Geatland to Denmark and deals with like monsters, including Grendel most memorably, before heading home again. And it's interesting because there were times where the Geats and the Danes were beating each other up, right? The kingdoms would ally with each other, get into battles with each other. Some similarities with Eberron, perhaps, Tren.
That is just all of Europe.
Yeah. Well,
like
yeah. I basically have described all of Europe,
beating
yes.
each other up,
That's a good point. There's a reason the European Union was kind of a big step forward. That's true.
Yeah, kind of.
But yes.
At some point, somebody figured, hey, how about we are just being friends like all the time instead of just...
And they're like, wait, that's a great idea.
Switching back and forth.
So, but in this place of Beowulf, this is a time of these sort of cluster of tiny kingdoms. But it's here where I want you to sort of step back slightly from the historical component of this, because it's important to recognize that. Wait a second. Let me make sure that I'm okay. I want to make sure that I had that on repeat. It's important to recognize that Beowulf is a fantasy. It is not actually historical fiction. In fact, it is often anachronistic in some of the ways that it presents itself. It is a poem that is caught between paganism and Christianity, for example, largely because it certainly began as an oral retelling of a tale, which has passed through many storytellers and thus shifted, and then was sort of put to paper finally by monks who had their own reasons as to why they would want to add Christian elements to this poem. So it's that way. There are frictions that exist there. And a lot of what it represents is the symbolism of the darkness of the time in some ways that people felt, the idea of overcoming the fatalism and obstacles of the time for something heroic. And so when it says Beowulf Age of Heroes, that's one of the reasons why there is so much focus on the individual player, because these are, as you can already tell by just looking at them, Tari and Tren's characters are both going to be heroes. They are the focal point of this story. They do have followers. We'll talk about those followers in a bit. But they are the ones about whom the stories are being written. And it is these heroes that can inspire, and that's really what the tale was meant to do, to inspire others to keep on going when regular existence felt like it was trying to shut them down permanently. So all of that really is a part of what this is. The heroes will be going out and battling monsters of various kinds, although we had an interesting discussion about what that actually might look like for some of the players here. But battling monsters of various kinds, and again, the monsters are as much symbolic as anything else. But the reason I bring this up is that if people are like, well, that's not exactly how things were done, well, Finland didn't exist as such, and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. This is not historical gameplay. This is inspired by the historical tale of Beowulf, and then sort of steps forward from there. Within this world, I will say, that we have at the heart of the world two great seas, one to the east and one to the west. Beyond the eastern sea, there are impenetrable forests, and there are trackless frozen wastes. And to the west are the Isles of Britain and Ireland that are known by 100 different names and home to 100 people and their kings and queens. Beyond them lie an endless ocean. Who even knows what happens if you had a ship that would go past those places?
Big snake.
Yeah, basically. You don't want to go that way. The coasts that frame
Big
these
snake
two
that way.
seas are etched by 1,000 coves and harbors and inlets and river mouths and towering cliffs and 1,000,000 beaches of shingle and shale and sand. And the land itself is broken into islands beyond counting. While the people, like these people, who live all around the Whale Road are great shipbuilders and skilled sailors. Clustered around the edges of the sea are countless ports and harbors and shipyards. It is never hard to find crew members for a ship, nor for a hero to find a ship at need. And the people of the Whale Road hold in high regard the ability to ply the tides. It should therefore be noted that both Tari's character and Tren's character are going to have boats. They will have a ship which they can develop and expand. And they can bolt a lot of extra reactors onto it. No, that's Starfield. But they'll be able to expand it. They can lose their ship. Their ship could be destroyed. They will always be able to get another ship. But it will be like Fisher-Price, my first ship. You know what I'm saying? Like, it won't be the awesome ship that they had built up over time.
But Greg, that implies that the ship is very colorful, and we all know that back in the olden days, everything was brown and
Right.
gray and miserable.
That's true. We didn't actually get into color saturation until at least 1200. It wasn't until after that we got that.
Well, in between there was a brief phase of everything being specifically just in grayscale until the color TV
Right.
was invented.
That's right. Right in like 1182. Like somewhere every historian is just burst into flames and just like, oh, that's not how it happened. It's the ChatGPT
No,
generation.
that's exactly how it happened. I was there.
I was there. We were all there at the time. It was a great time. Okay, so now speaking of the landscape, and then I'm going to let I'm doing this before I want them to talk about their characters for a reason, because the landscape really and the environment shapes these characters. So the land around the Whale Road is a heroic one because think of what your image of the Scottish Highlands might be, chat, right? Doleful crags and heather-topped tors which overlook these wide, misty mares, swampland, these wind-swept saltwater lakes. There are great fjords like the one that Echo lives right on top of a fjord. That's what I've heard. And sheer-sided valleys are carved into the rind of the world. There are spaces that are broad that spread silent fenlands without end. Just search for Skyfall Scotland or Prometheus Scotland. Yeah. That's a good point on the Skyfall part. And rolling stream-scored heather moors play home to great boulders abandoned by giants. In summer, the days do not end. Can confirm, by the way, I once visited Norway during the summer. Days never end there. And in winter, the night is endless, and there is a brooding melancholy which blows across the north. And so set against this mighty landscape, peoples are very small. Even the boldest human endeavors and great deeds of the mightiest heroes are insignificant when compared to the great bones of the earth. That said, there is the need for humans to survive, and they only survive through inspiration, and that is what these heroes hopefully will provide. A couple of other notes that will be there. Mead halls. That's right, you cannot survive without a mead hall. First of all, I think we could all agree. Taverns, right? I mean, like, you know, even if you don't drink, and I don't, it's just about it's as much about the company, the warmth, the food, and some kind of, liquid refreshment that the mead halls are about. And mead halls are fundamental to Beowulf because that is where a lot of the sort of social gathering, a lot of the information gathering about the monsters that people face, that's where the heroes will be doing a lot of their work, is in the mead hall. And, of course, in the poem Beowulf, it is the attack on Heorot, the Golden Hall of Hrothgar, by Grendel, that shows how unsafe things are. Because the mead hall is supposed to be a place of safety, and Grendel just rips those doors up and tosses them aside like nothing. There is no safety there, and that's why it's so disturbing and frightening. Beowulf is there to, in a way, hold the door of the mead hall, and so these folks will do that as well. There are kings and queens in Beowulf. They are kings and queens who may be smaller than we might imagine, but they still have authority and purpose. And if they are good kings and queens, and there are bad ones too, if there are good kings and queens, they are known as being generous. They are the ring givers. They are those who give the treasure. Why? Because it is that generosity that shows that they have reached out to their followers and their followers reach out to them. And in a world in which kings and queens could die very quickly, because lots of people could die very quickly, you need followers that will respect and support you. So just as we have kings and queens, we have heroes in this tale who themselves have followers, and we'll talk about those followers in just a little bit. Part of that generosity is also about loyalty and hospitality. When you have someone who comes to a mead hall, you're supposed to be generous to your guests. The idea of attacking or killing a guest in your own mead hall would be just beyond the worst thing anyone could conceive of doing, which isn't to say that it never happened. But when it happened, it was considered this enormous breach of etiquette and knowledge. You're expected to be loyal, and you're expected to be hospitable to others. There is also attention paid to things like personal wealth, how much gold you have. Why? Not so you can go spend it at a Best Buy, which, to be clear, did not exist at this time, but because that personal...
Would you know? Were you there?
Though.
Yeah, IKEA did. They called all their ships like Jord Jornsson, and you could like build it with... And they didn't use English. They used just drawings and diagrams, just like they do today. It's very similar.
No, that wasn't Picts. They used pictograms?
They use pictograms, yes. With the person like standing up and the arrow pointing to what you're supposed to... Yeah. So anyway, but no, the personal wealth is used so you can redistribute it to your followers, and so you can get weapons and armor, and especially so you can upgrade your ship. Because that's what you want to do. You want to upgrade that ship and your armor and your weapons. So there's that. Couple of other last notes. First of all, slaves and slavery. There was some slaves and enslavement and indentured servitude that happened here. This is something which the party may or may not come into contact with, although it is not the focal point here, and it is not something that I want to spend a lot of time focusing on just that on its own. But it is to say that it was a time during which there was plundering and raiding, and that wasn't about, let me negotiate first and then talk about United Nations international law. For people who want to say that things in 2023 are desperately savage and uncivilized, I would ask you to please consult with the 900s, okay? It was a little bit of a different time. And so we have come a long way in that regard.
But those who engaged in that, those dwarves, we shaved them and sent them on their way. So
yeah, good one. I like the reference. That's good stuff. Also, at the time, in a more positive note, we had scopes. I believe it's scopes, not scops, right, Tari? Tari's my resident pronunciation guide for this. SCOPS. It might be just scops. But they are basically storytellers, minstrels, bards, poets of the age.
Oh, I don't know Old English.
Scops who preserve order. Now, scops are very important in this book. In the book and in the poem and in this game, because scops are the one who basically tell the tales. It may be that the heroes may have heard of the monsters they must go face through the song of a scop, a wandering scop who has come to a mead hall and has sung for, their supper and are telling you stories about this with poetry and iron. And smiths are important as well because of the forging of weapons, and especially weapons and armor. A strong sword and a strong shield means a lot to people at the time, and so both scops and smiths are important here too. And last but certainly not least, we need to talk about just briefly the fact that there are a whole set of kind of religious things to consider. The only thing that we're really going to focus on here are the old ways, which are a collection of the old Norse gods and other versions of gods. In fact, one of our players has sort of developed their own, which is totally fine. That's what the old ways was. It often involved regional gods, people who were particular to a particular space or region or spot.
Well, but there's also this kind of, I don't want to say misconception, but just preconception, I guess, that there was this more or less unified Germanic pagan religion back in the olden days.
Yep.
And the thing is, we just don't fucking know what people believed in back in the day. Especially we know that the Eddas exist, but the Eddas were written by Christians.
Right.
And so the main things that we have is town names and very like a bunch of like rune stones that sometimes have like religious stuff written on them.
Christians have good record keeping, man. That's it. Like they better, you know.
That's like so like the thing is,
I'm not
just
saying
like
accurate
the old
record
Germanic
keeping, I'm
people
just saying-
until
Okay.
like Christianity showed up, they didn't write shit down ever.
Right. That's what
We
I
don't
mean.
know,
Like
Jack.
someone was like, we need to document this and then change things. But you know, whatever. We need to write it down.
Yeah, well, we don't know how much they changed it.
That's
and
right.
That's like also the thing. It's just like, hey, maybe don't take everything that's like written in the Eddas and other similar scriptures as like.
The unvarnished truth, you know.
I
Yeah,
can tell you
basically.
exactly what they believed in. Whatever worked.
Yeah, whatever worked at the time. And so in Beowulf Age of Heroes, we have the old ways, and then we also have the church, which is essentially representing the Christian church, although it's exceedingly new. So it does not have any of the, you have no popes making
Still has
decisions
that
from
new
Rome.
church smell
It's got that
on
new
it.
church smell, exactly.
Right.
So you will encounter folks from both the old ways and the church. And other sort of foreign lands and far lands beyond the Whale Road that we will see references to in here.
It should be mentioned. I did talk about this actually with John on the official Handiworks Games Discord server.
Okay.
That like what is like generally considered Christianity in the game is more like basically all Abrahamic religion
yes.
mushed into one, because
Totally.
like people at the time, or like in the game anyway. How much it has to do with history is a different story, but like in the setting of the game anyway, it's like a lot of people don't really make the differentiation
Totally. Oh, yeah.
as we would make that today. So like especially if like your character is from a pagan or secular background, then it would be like, oh yeah, they all believe in like one big sky dude.
Yeah.
It's all
no,
the same,
for
you know?
sure.
And,
They all
like,
just
then
sort
it's
of put
like
it all
a
together.
Jew and a Christian and and a Muslim, you know.
Exactly.
Would be the
So
same to them.
So exactly. So when we talk about the church, we kind of want to avoid, you know, images of like Texas mega churches. You know what I mean? Like it's a very different kind of thing.
Yes,
that we're
famous
discussing at the time.
Norse mega churches.
Yes. Well, I mean but I'm saying, you know, for a 21st century audience, you know, you say the word Christianity and it conjures up a whole series of images. So that's I'm sort of like focusing us on what might have been more appropriate at the time. So that's the sort of general background. So what I want to do is now I want to have each of these folks, I'll talk about the different rules, but I want to have each of these folks introduce their characters first, and then we'll talk about the way that was all put together. And you're right, Triffid, Viking was a verb first. That's true.
Well, it still is, just not in English.
Well, listen, but English is the only language that met. No, I'm just kidding. Just
Pass up,
kidding.
young.
I wanted to say, excuse me. Okay. So
That was
let's
both
start
Kölsch,
with
Kölsch and Dutch, by the way. One of the few sentences that works in both languages.
so let's start with
Basically,
your
what I said is, look out, boy.
look out, boy. See, but see, I could
watch out,
afford
watch
to
out,
ignorantly
boy.
avoid it, not understanding. I hope everyone knows I'm joking a lot. Okay, I'm going to start with Tari. And Tari, I would
Yes,
like you to
business.
tell us about Vogue Hilda. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yeah, that was good enough.
Vogue Hilda. It's all right. I'll never actually get the pronunciation quite right, but Tari's very
yeah, but I
very
expected
tolerant.
that.
Yeah.
I'm the most tolerant.
Yes. So
and
Vogue
also
Hilda, so
very
tell us
humble.
about Vogue Hilda, your character, and sort of what is kind of motivating her, and then that'll give us a chance to talk about some of the rules too.
First of all, I did find the manuscript again. It is the Lindisfarne Gospels, which were written in the 8th century. Well, probably written. They're not sure. But yeah, it's a Bible.
It's actually written last year in like some in some barn in
Yeah.
Iowa.
So yeah, very beautifully manuscript, illustrated manuscript of like old English art.
Very cool.
So yeah, my character is Vokhilde, or Vokhilda, doesn't matter. Whom you see on screen right now next to me, like there.
Very nice.
Looking in the right direction. No, wrong direction. There.
No, you were right the first time.
No? Oh, okay.
It was the other- yeah.
Yeah, it's a delay that like threw me off in stream. But yeah, she is from a place called Xanten, which is actually a real place that you can visit today. Xanten is a town in the Lower Rhine region, close to the Dutch border in Germany, which is mainly known for having been important during the Roman era. And I chose that place as her home because, first of all, I'm familiar with the place. I've been there. And second of all, because the Nibelungen saga, which is, of course, a big saga that every German knows, about Siegfried and the dragon and all that kind of jazz. He is also from that era. Like, not that I'm saying, hey, my character is like related. I'm just like saying, hey,
he was there. He's actually Siegfried. Like,
well, no. But I did base the king of that era on him or his family, because like one thing is that like everybody in Siegfried's family, everybody has like the word Sieg in their name.
Okay.
Sieger is, I think, his grandpa or something. I don't know. Depends on who wrote the story. Like, there's also a billion different versions of that story because, also an old saga.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of retellings.
Yep.
So I chose that, and like the main idea behind her culture is that during the migration period, the place was abandoned, and then her people came in from somewhere east and settled the place, because one thing in history is that like certain spots keep getting resettled over and over, just because they are just good places to settle at, and like at some point maybe people leave for whatever reason. And I like to think of that place to be one of those places.
Very cool.
And because it used to be a Roman place, a Roman colony, that basically I had like her religion, as Greg mentioned earlier, that I made up my own religion for this because I don't like playing real world religions. I think that's a whole can of worms. So I just made up my own thing based on a statue that they found in the Cologne area, which is a bit further south, which is where I'm actually from, which you can see in the Roman Germanic Museum in Cologne. Great museum, can very much recommend. Which like basically shows these three women with these weird headdresses. And I just thought, hey, maybe her people found the statue. We're like, oh, this is the local god, I suppose. We'll worship this now.
They just were like, any port in a storm? They're like, all right, yeah, I mean, I guess this works.
Well, like it matched up with, like, the thing is that like this, her people have been there for several generations now.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff just gets lost because nobody writes shit down. So yeah, as oral traditions go. So this like whole thing morphed into the three sisters, essentially, just what they're called.
Okay.
Like people can like imagine them like a bit like the Norns or the Fates. From like,
but not the three sisters from The Witcher, chat. All right, so if you're thinking that those,
haven't read The Witcher and I haven't played it.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt sisters is a whole other ball of wax.
But yeah, it's like a common thing, like a common motive in like storytelling, that you have like these three women who like hold power, like this whole matriarchal aspect.
In no way am I in the process of writing a book in which that may or may not have come up literally in my writing.
So yeah, I just like went with that and just like, okay, so when she like wants to invoke somebody's name, then it's got to be the three sisters.
The three sisters, or just the three, right?
Or just the three, or just the sisters,
right. Or just
just
Especially you just like gesture meaningful, like you're like, oh, okay.
So yeah, but yeah, Vokilde is from that place.
Okay.
Who has been raised in the house of the local king. Her dad used to be one of the men-at-arms of the king, a brother-in-arms of the king, who passed away. And her mother, so she was told, was one of the mermaids. Because one big thing in legends and stories about the River Rhine, oh yeah, I should have mentioned that Xanten is on the River Rhine, is that like mermaids in every fucking story. Every story has mermaids. So I just thought that would be a cool addition, that she is allegedly the daughter of a mermaid. And you shouldn't think of this in like pop culture mermaids with like fishtails and stuff. It's more like just magical fairy women who live in the water. Like there's no fish theme necessarily.
Yeah, there won't be a dramatic transformation into like
no. Which is also a thing, by the way. In the Nibelungen there is Otter, who is a dwarf who shapeshifts into an otter. So that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was like the inspiration for that. And yeah, and she has been raised there, a bit of a wild child in her childhood, and now a bit of a daredevil. It's like basically she's straight out of if you would put an old Germanic character into Jackass. that's her.
Okay. Interesting.
That's my idea for her. We will see how that will play out, because it all like playing out certain personalities and new characters is like always like a bit of a gamble, because you don't know what actually works with the game. But that's like what I'm going for.
Yeah. And in fact, this actually gives us a chance to talk about that. So Volkilda is actually a noble's blood is the background here, which means that there are a couple of features. You want to talk about the features, or should I? This is
okay. What I've written down. Let's see. Actual paper character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So her heroic tale is that she is swift blessed, which basically means she's just faster than everybody else. She is, in fact, speed. And her abilities include Horde Breaker, which I'm not entirely sure exactly what that did. Again, I would need to look it up. Like, usually in preparation, I always print out my feats and put them in my little notebook. But the thing is, I might rework this all a little bit until we like properly start.
Well, before you get into the Swift Bless stuff, though, so the Noble's Blood, the feature that I don't know if you have it on there, but if not, I'll mention it. Is
like it's in the
command,
just have the name written down. I don't have
presence?
like down what
do you
it
have,
does.
Do you have command presence?
I assume so.
Because that's the Noble's Blood is this command presence, which basically gives you the opportunity to support your followers, and we'll talk about followers after we introduce the characters. So yeah, and that will also allow you to restore hit dice equal to your proficiency bonus to a character. So you'll actually be able to do that. So as an NPC or a follower is suffering, and presumably this would apply to yourself as well as a character, you could restore hit dice as sort of your leadership, like remember your allegiance to the king and myself and blah blah blah, right? So that's the Noble's Blood aspect. And then yes, your heroic tale. I should mention, by the way, chat, that everyone in Beowulf, all of the characters in Beowulf are human. And there are a series of backgrounds and then a series of these, as Tari said, heroic tales. And Tari's heroic tale, Volkilda's heroic tale, is swift blessed, which means that they
life,
are
I'm not that fast.
lightning fast. I thought this was basing on your incredibly fast overall characteristics.
This is, totally.
Yeah, it's and there's a few things. That means that swift blessed trickster. You can perform sleight of hand with small items, so do kind of magic and stuff like that. In fact, so well that you can do this in such a way that may give you advantage or disadvantage on your next charisma check. Like, some small child might be like, wow, and then like they really think you're cool, but someone else must be like, I don't like this magic, and like they would be distrustful of you. You do gain proficiency in the sleight of hand skill if you don't already have it. So and that's the way it's described, is a swift blessed noble's blood, is what Volkilda is. Any other sort of, because you describe where they grew up, anything else you want to highlight before I move to Tren about Volkilda?
I guess I could explain her name, which is basically Hilda is just a very common like suffix, I guess, for a name.
Okay.
Hilda, doesn't matter, like Kriemhild
and the Vogue part?
That the Vogue is from Voge. Which is like wave, basically, because her mom was a mermaid, and also like this channel here has like a theme that every game needs to have one character with water theming in their name.
That's true.
There's
river and like absolutely. So.
River and
yep.
and crashing waves of course.
That's right. That's right. Waves crashing against it. Yep. That's
Yeah,
true. So we
so,
continue the water thing. It's going to be
yes.
really sad when the first thing that Vokilda is sent to do is to defeat the Great Mermaid. That's going to be a tough one. I'm just kidding. That doesn't actually happen.
Nah, that's fine.
The monstrous mermaid. Roar, you know.
The Kraken.
The Kraken. Yeah. Well, that would be a whole different. You know. Speaking of Shadow of the Colossus.
Let's go kill Jormungandr.
Yep. The serpent who holds the world together. Okay, so I'm very excited to talk more about Vokilda with followers in a bit, but I want to get, first of all, from Tren. So Tren, your character, who I believe is Arilfur, if I've somewhat pronounced that properly. Tell me about, tell us about... Arilfur. I didn't say Arilfur. I didn't say that. Arilfur.
Because I am a real fur.
A real fur. He's a real fur. Okay. He ain't one of those fake furs now. He's one of them real furs.
We do have those, but no.
So
no
a real
plastic,
fur.
no microplastics here. No, only the real stuff.
Now, whereas Vokilda has a lot of like knowledge of like, you know, possible mom was a mermaid, raised by her dad as a noble, like has this sort of whole background. Not quite the case for a real fur, I would say. So tell us what we can say about him, I guess might be the way to describe this.
He's a guy.
He's a guy. Yes, he is.
And moving on.
No, he really doesn't know much about where he came from. He didn't know his parents. He just, you know, as children grow older and their brains develop and they start, you know, being able to conceptualize the universe, when
Allegedly.
he kind of, some of them
theoretically.
Yeah. By the time he got to a point of kind of self-recognition and being like, oh wait, I'm a living person in the world. Oh, he was just. It's like the what did I say? He's like the feral child from the Road Warrior.
From the Road Warrior. Yep.
He's just this kid who runs around on the moors, you know, kind of thing. It's like he it's not that he lives rough. That kind of implies
no, he lives rough.
Right. Exactly.
Wah, wah.
And
only quality jokes on this here channel, folks.
yeah.
Top level jokes.
But he doesn't know anything else. You know, you talk about a mead hall. He may have seen one. You know, it's like, oh, it sounds like there's a lot of people in there. It reminds me of a scene from Conan the Barbarian when Subutai, he and Subutai go to his city, and he's like, does it always smell like this? How does the air get in here? Or how does the wind get in here?
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah. I can easily see, you know, this guy walking into a mead hall and being like.
But he does speak he's able to speak language to communicate, right? Presumably, you know, not a huge conversationalist probably, but I mean, he
was raised by people. He was found, and nobody really knows where he came from.
In fact, he is a foundling. Is the background. And so one of the big features of that is ready mind, which means that because he's used to dangerous and unpredictable situations, once per short rest, a real fur can grant himself advantage on an initiative roll as long as he's not surprised. So when he really, really needs, for those moments when you really positively need to go first, you know, a real fur will be able to manage that foundling level.
Yep.
So he's just sort of wandering around figuring things out. We'll talk about his followers and his companions in a minute. Has he learned anything of what he values, would you say, so far?
His background is, well, like, I guess one would say his religious background. His views on it are kind of like mine, that there is spirituality and there is religion. Spirituality is one's personal connection with whatever is the divine, and religion is when it becomes a group thing, and that's usually when stuff starts fucking up. Mm-hmm. For him, the people who raised him, they were followers of the old ways, and that it suited him very, very well, especially with his companions. It was just, it's like we mentioned earlier, forces of nature. You know, these are things that are tangible, that you can feel them at work. And so for him, it's much more real than what the people of the church are talking about. And he's like, I don't get that. I don't feel that. This works for me. And so he respects it in the sense that, okay, that's your thing. Don't try to push it on me, and we're fine. And you do your thing, I'll do mine, as long as we're both, both of our teachings are be a decent person. Okay.
Yeah, more or less.
That's cool, kind of. As long as you stick to that, we're good. But for the most part, he is stimulus response. He's very reactionary in a lot of ways. It's not that he can't plan things out. He absolutely can, but he understands how nature works on a level that a lot of people who live in cities probably don't.
Right.
And for him, if people go out camping with him and they're like, wait, how are we supposed to eat? He's like, what are you talking about? There's food everywhere. It's like, here, eat this. It's like, oh God, no. It's like, what? It's fine. So yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's I think it's interesting too, because a lot of people talk about the idea of like, well, we'll figure out how to do things during play, or like we'll figure out like motivation. Like this, in a way, part of the arc, it feels to me, of A Real Fur is going to be sort of the arc of learning what he wants the shape and the arc of his life to be beyond responsiveness. That he may sort of come to some greater goal understanding of something, like which he will determine presumably for himself. I don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting to look at. As far as the heroic tale, what is his heroic tale that he possesses?
That's a great question. I presume that's ox-spirited.
Yeah, that's right. And the ox-spirited, basically,
I have ox-spirited written. I just didn't put down what it was.
That is a heroic tale. So he is ox-spirited.
I know that.
Do you have the general sense of what, like, and I mean, like, in the broadest sense, like what it means to be ox-spirited as opposed to like...
No, that's what I'm saying. I have ox-spirited written on my document, but I didn't bother to put in what ox-spirited is.
See, this is like, again, Christians have record keeping. You just gotta write stuff down, and then it'll be fun. Okay, no, ox-spirited is the most enduring of heroes. So what that means is that heroes are able to endure extremes of physical punishment, whether through mental determination or bullish physical endurance, or a combination of both. This made a lot of sense, I think, based upon like his backstory, and like where he grew up. Like he had to sort of survive the elements, and he's done that. At first level, mechanically, what it means is that you have advantage on any saving throw or ability check made to resist the effects of any poison, including alcohol, which is indeed poison. Oh yeah, my time has come. I was able to see it mechanically represented in a game. Let's go. But anyway, it's called Stone Belly. And I was slightly regretful that he didn't call himself Stone Belly, just because there'd be so many funny moments I could people just using the name. Anyway, but instead I think our real fur makes sense. So he's an ox-spirited foundling, and Vokilda is a swift-blessed noble's blood. And you might say, like, they're the odd couple. Well, they're not going to be together as a couple. They are separate people, although, as I say...
As far as you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the secret behind the scenes. Yeah.
Like the inherent eroticism of being completely different people who have nothing in common.
That we always know that works. That brings everybody together. It never fails, actually. Okay, let's talk about
the saga of Beowulf. Ooh.
I mean, for example, yes. So let's talk a little bit then about the way that this actually functions in terms of some of the rule differences here. So, and how this kind of applies. So the players and I constructed their heroes. We worked through what that meant. They both study the old ways, that is their, in quotes, alignment. Obviously the standard D&D alignments of neutral good and lava, like none of that applies here. We're talking about old ways stuff. You will see the sort of people they are through the play that they conduct. And if they spend a lot of time running around and, beating up innocent people and kicking puppies, then we'll have a different understanding of what they are than, other things. So that is there. Now, the other thing...
Well, I mean, back in the day, hero meant something very different than what we
I know. That's right. Hero, if anything, it's interesting. Hero was closer to the term protagonist in this sense that the protagonist in a story is not the good guy, right? A protagonist is the person who pushes the action, and the antagonist is
Somebody
the one
who
who
does
is
great deeds.
correct. And the great can be
Yeah.
greatly bad or greatly good, right? It's someone who actually does
Or
something
just greatly
to move
fucked up
things.
in some other way.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's the protagonist, and in that sense, that's sort of what this version of a hero is, in terms of the tales that they conduct themselves in. So we have that. We have their alignment. We also have their, and I don't believe it's word. I believe it's weird, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like the Weird Sisters.
The weird. That true. That's kind of anglicized out of it, but yes. Which is a person's fate.
Well, it is an English story, so...
Yeah, well, okay. Yes, yes. But it's Anglo-Saxon and it's not, Anyway, it's a person's fate or doom or destiny. And heroes have a very strong sense of weird. And because of the influence of their fated destiny, a hero can use an alignment die. And in this case, both of them will be using Old Ways alignment dice, which will come into play that we'll talk about actually right now. Because whenever a hero makes a roll with advantage, and by the way, chat, yes, you'll be able to use your inspiration boosts to help these players and get inspirations in this campaign as well. When they roll with advantage, they may choose one of the dice that they're about to roll to be representative of their alignment. So the will of the old gods, or the will of the three, or whatever the case may be.
Well, there's 3 alignments, right? There's
there's
the book, which is like Abrahamic religion. Then
Correct.
There's the Old Ways, which is like vaguely pagan.
And then there's
there's a
neutral.
fence sitter, which
Yes.
is like, I don't fucking know.
There's neutral.
Agnostic.
That's right. Which is that's right. There's neutral, which has its own thing. So these are going to be able to use their representative of their alignments. You can select one of those dice to do that. If that die is selected to be the result of the roll, then the hero gains inspiration whether the roll succeeds or not. So in other words, you may, even if you fail a roll, you will gain inspiration because you were imagining it in the context of the old ways within which this event actually took place. And so basically you roll with advantage and you choose one of the d20s before you roll to be your alignment die. So you're like, I'm going to roll 2. The first one is going to be the alignment die, or the second one's going to be the alignment die. If you pick that, you will get inspiration, which interestingly plays into something we haven't had a chance to deal with much with the 5e system, and that is there may be times where a player might choose. Remember, technically advantage does not mean you choose the higher result. It means that you choose the result you wish, which typically is the higher or better result, but it doesn't have to be. So it could very well be that the players may be like, you know what? I'm going to, in this case, choose this number that's lower because that's my alignment die, because I want inspiration to be able to support some later ability check or something else that I'm going to be doing. So there's a little bit of tactical stuff that's associated with that too. I'm going to save followers for last because that's super important and I want them to talk about their followers. Every hero will have a ship. You will always have access to a replacement ship should theirs be lost, and also a crew. And the crew of the ship is different than the followers that follow these heroes. We'll talk about that later on. Also, there are gifts and burdens for both ships and items. Basically, magical properties might be the way that you would describe it, or a history which might weigh you down. It may be that a ship with a particular gift of speed, foam flecked, for instance, might mean that they can go at a great pace, and so it speeds up the journey. But it may be a foam flecked and cursed vessel, because the last time it went out, it ran into the rocks, and since then, sailors who were on it have muttered uneasily about whether a voyage will succeed upon this boat. So it can have both a gift, foam flecked, and a burden, cursed, which the boat will sort of occupy over the course of time. And then one of my favorite elements of this, which is that, so equipment and war gear, there are weapons and equipment, especially shields and helmets are more useful than in 5e because those are a big deal in Beowulf, shields and helmets. And so that's something that we'll be able to talk about as we go through.
Ooh, second edition? Immune to crits?
I don't know about that. Depend, maybe with magical ones, possibly. And then one of my favorites, which is spears are always available. So, like, you always have a spear. Like if your spear breaks, like some dude is like, here, have a spear. Like you're just like, what? Like
Stabby.
you just walk around and there's a spear. And I love the idea that it's like there's never a moment where I've lost my weapon. Like, nope, here, have a spear. Again, it may not be the level of like, Ving Bjornsson, the IKEA formed spear. Like it may not be as good as that. But it will be a spear that will be functional
at every opportunity
in some capacity. Yeah, there's gonna be so many IKEA jokes. That's who I should have approached to sponsor this. I should have been like, would IKEA? We're brought to you by IKEA and the delicious Swedish meatballs at the center. Like the IKEA store, this dungeon is very much like a maze, like the IKEA store itself. Anyway, so spears are always available. All right, now that brings us back to what I think is one of the most unique elements of the character side of this, and that is followers. So followers are I think what you would describe as kind of a non-player character that continually follows the heroes, but they follow them and have their own sort of distinctive personalities. They have gifts, and they also have burdens they can have just like items can have. And they also have various abilities that they can use. Pretty much all of them are able to be activated to engage with enemies in combat. But then there are different followers that have different gifts and abilities. And so both Tari and Tren have come up with their followers and what their abilities are. So this time I'll work back in the other direction. So Tren, I'll start with you because yes. Sorry, Tari, what's up?
Do you want to put the portrait?
Yes.
Like the picture that I sent you on screen?
That is a good call. Yes, I will do that now.
That's what I made it for.
Yes, I will do that.
Because there's a lot of followers.
All right, hang on 1 second. Let me do that. That's a good call. All right. So, Tren, so Ariel Fur's followers, you don't have a lot, but they're important ones. So do you want to tell us about those?
No. Yes,
well, do it anyway.
We can have a variety of numbers of followers, and I got the lowest number of 2 followers, but mine are at least as far as I'm concerned are far superior because they're both animals.
And I'm going to bring them on now, by the way.
And one of them is a hawk. I believe we said specifically it was an osprey.
That is correct. With the very appropriate to the time, I think we can agree, name of?
Peep. Because that's the first thing that he said.
I was pushing for caw, but Tren is like, no. I was like,
no.
Really?
No.
Oh, that would be terrible. That means poop in German.
Yeah. And while accurate in a lot of bird cases. But yeah, it is an osprey named Peep.
And ability, do you have his gifts? What are they? What are his gifts?
Well, I mean, there's engage, rescue the hero, take a blow, and he has keen senses, sight.
Okay, so let's talk about those one by one. So engage, which is one that's common. What this means is that when
going to warp.
That's right. Make it so is what Real Furb will say. When you roll initiative, each follower with this gift can be assigned up to 2 opponents in a battle, and engaged opponents spend their turn fighting the follower, unless the hero is within reach, in which case the opponent can attack the hero as normal. So when you get 5 people attacking the hero can be like, all right, Peep, go after that one. And then we'll talk about the wolf's name in a minute. I don't want to jump the gun there. Engage the other person so that the hero can be dealing with their own person. Because, this is not Bruce Lee where, 5 people, 1 person fights you at a time because they're very polite that way. So you want to make sure that you have others that can help out. But on the 3rd and subsequent rounds of combat, the follower must make a death saving throw at the end of the opponent's turn if they were the target of the opponent. So followers could be hurt, theoretically even killed in this. So that's something that the heroes will need to be aware of. So that's engage. What was the second one, did you say?
Rescue the hero.
Rescue the hero. So when the hero, when the gift is activated, when the hero's in big trouble, the hero can use this ability to activate followers with that gift. And that means they will rush into the fight trying to save the hero from certain death. Each activated hero must make a death saving throw, and the hero is rescued and has a chance to take a long rest before the adventure continues. So it is putting the followers at risk, but it also means that maybe the hero won't die, which is, a good thing, I would think. Okay, and then last, well, actually, was it last? I think you had 3 gifts. How many gifts did you have?
There's 2 more.
Okay, 2 more. Sorry, 4.
The third one is take a blow.
Take a blow, which means that when the hero receives damage from a successful attack, you activate the follower as a reaction. Follower absorbs the damage and must make a death saving throw. So basically keeps them from being hit. Okay, and?
Finally, keen senses sight.
Which is pretty awesome. So keen senses means that the follower has advantage on perception checks involving sight, which fits for Peep, I think. So Peep will be up in the air, will stare down from a great distance, and be like, something's about to happen, and then will, in the call of his fathers, go, caw-caw! No, I'm just kidding. We'll go Peep, and then we'll dive down, and we'll be able to...
There's a scene, I think it's in Dances with Wolves, where they're riding along, and like a hawk sweeps across their path. And like the Native American guy's like, hang on, wait a minute. No, that means something. Hold on. And so they stop, get off their horses, and they sneak up and they see, oh, okay. That's the sort of thing I imagine people doing.
I could totally see that for sure. I think it's very cool. I am very excited to see how that gets played out. So that's Peep. Also, do we know, did a realfer just like run into Peep? Did you say? Did you say that he like raised him?
We'll get to that when we finish talking about the next one.
Okay, so then let's talk about the second of your followers, who is
a wolf named Ile.
So the wolf Ile, and the wolf Ile has also several features. I think also has engage, right?
Has engaged, rescue the hero, take a blow.
Okay.
The point at which it differentiates is he has keen senses for scent and hearing.
Right. Was able to take one of it. Yeah, that's right, because we talked about that in a different... Oh, I forgot to mention this. Did Peep have a flaw? Or,
no, he didn't.
Okay. All right. And
just perfect. Perfect.
Just burden, I should say. Did Ile have a
burden?
I see what you did there.
Unfortunately.
A bird and the wolf's den. Okay. Did Ile have a burden?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
He is young.
Right. And young means that when
He's
their
not
age
old.
or inexperience would affect them, they have disadvantage on intelligence and wisdom checks because he is a young wolf. Okay, so tell me about how, since we got through him, tell me about how a realfer, again, and whatever you want not to reveal now, you don't have to, but like how did they meet each other, or do we know?
There was a point probably maybe not 2 years ago, because Ile is young, so probably about a year ago.
Okay.
Where Arthur was out, out gallivanting on the heath, or whatever you want to call it, and he happened to look over and see this, not a pup, but young, wolf, kind of bounding towards him with some weird thing in his mouth. And as he finally got close enough, he could see that he's carrying a stick, what looked like a stick, and there was a bird sitting on the side. So it's like, it's a little bit heavy on one side because it's got, birds aren't that heavy, but he's a young wolf, so it's kind of loping slightly, sidelong. And so, they both came in at the same time, and the stick that Ile was carrying in his mouth is actually the torque that Arthur wears around his neck.
Oh, very cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And as we know, wolves can carry things like this that unbalance. In fact, a giant wolf does this with a sword in Dark Souls, which is completely a legitimate way that wolves act.
And I think in one of the Zelda games too.
Yes, very much part of the mix. No, that's very cool. So,
Twilight Princess?
I don't know.
Yes. Yes,
No idea.
yes, Twilight
Okay.
Princess.
It's the one with the wolf.
Twilight
That's
Princess,
Twilight
okay.
Princess.
which I actually like. I think that's underrated.
Sure. Okay.
Anyway, yes. So just one last thing, which is that so they kind of adopted a realfer as much as the reverse, I suppose.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is a realfer drawn to them in part because of the like him, they don't know. He doesn't know where they're from in a way, and like he doesn't know their story, and he doesn't know his own. Like what sort of draws?
They
him
are
to
all
them?
foundlings in their way.
It was probably more like, "Ooh, puppy!"
Well,
kind of.
My pet.
Little bit. Oh, definitely. But whereas with modern day people, we would get a dog and give it a collar. In this case, the dog came with the collar, and the collar went on the human. So
very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very cool. I am excited to see how that's going to play out. So it's a very neat character. It's going to be fun.
I hope so. I don't know. Basically, you guys now know everything I know about him. So we're going to figure it all out as we go.
It's a perfect type of campaign to do that with, though. So I think that's good. So I'm excited for that. Okay, let's talk about now. So we have 2. And then we have
I'll go get a
Vokilda,
snack
who's like, yeah, exactly. Well, the first of my 45 followers. We got some amazing followers here too. So tell me about the followers you have, Tari, for Vokilda.
Okay, so the first one would be Genofefa.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say the French version if you want, Ginevra or Genevieve.
How did you pronounce it though?
Genofefa.
Genofefa.
Oh yeah, that's actually spot on. Huh.
Don't look
Okay,
that
did not
surprised.
expect
Jeez. What have you done with
Kinda
Greg? All right,
used
listen.
to like you never being able to pronounce any of the names I come up with.
That is true. We have managed our friendship despite my way. No, actually, I do. It's just that you have to remember that I'm also juggling about 300 names in my head at any one time when it comes to these things. So, but anyway, so tell me. So say it one more time.
Genofefa.
I'm sure I won't have to ask you about that.
It's fine.
More
Just
times.
say it, however.
So
I tried to
Genofefa.
come up with a good pronunciation guide. Write
it's
it out.
like a gynophoenix.
A kind of phoenix. You know what strikes me?
Female phoenix.
Yeah.
You know what strikes me about this picture, by the way? Genofefa looks a fair bit like you, Tari. Is that intentional? I mean,
No, but more like incidental.
Okay.
I guess it's just. Yeah, it's incidental. I didn't mean to. I tried to basically do a human Fluttershy.
I see.
Pony.
I see. That's fine. And demonetized.
Why?
Tell us about this follower.
Yeah, she is Vokilda's childhood best friend. And basically she's like a bit of an airhead. And very kind and nice, but also she's like always there for Vokilda when she does something stupid again and breaks an arm or something, and then she's around to patch her up.
Oh, Genofefa.
her biggest enabler, basically.
Right.
She basically works in the house of the King of Xanten. As like a cook and baker and brewer and all that kind of stuff, which brings us to the gifts and burdens. I think she doesn't have any burdens. Let me check. No, she doesn't. Okay, she has 4 gifts, which is engage, which everybody has, rescue the hero, and also baker and brewer.
So baker and brewer. Now, do you want me to? So basically, okay. So
you do it.
So the baker is they know how to make bread and pastries. So you can use this follower in a location with appropriate supplies and equipment to feed a group of people. And brewer, familiar with making ale or other fermented beverages, which I assume means that beer bread is in the offering. Activate them to gain advantage on a check or saving throw to do with alcohol. That's going to be interesting, actually, because this will be a situation where, oh my God, I'm going to get drunk, but fortunately I have the saving throw. Whereas, a realfer is just like, I've tasted worse. This has no effect at all. But so brewer and baker for her. It should be pointed out, by the way, chat, that followers can be activated and spent in many more ways than just in combat. And followers themselves will have an impact. They will generally, the way to think of it is, they fade into the background while the heroes are doing awesome things. And then in sort of downtime, the followers come forward again as the heroes are sort of talking and chatting with the followers, and or when the hero is like, we have need of someone to bake. perhaps, and then calls upon her childhood friend, and here she comes into the foreground. But it's not this. What this is not is, Tari's character and 4 of her closest friends, hanging. Actually, 5 of her closest friends hanging out. Like, that's actually not what this is. These are followers that are going to be sort of in the foreground, or then sort of retreat to the background most of the time as our focus is on the hero. But I think it's an interesting system, so I wanted to point that out. Okay, so those are that. No burdens, as you say.
No burdens.
Give me the second follower that you have here.
Second one would be Yassib ibn Ghalib.
Oop.
And Tren is gone.
Tren's like, I don't want to hear about this other follower.
So this is not his full name. First of all, there's gonna be 2 Moorish followers in her group. And they both have actually really long names, because medieval Arabic names are can get very long with like a billion titles and whatnot. And I really tried to understand how this works. I looked at so many guides and things, and it's just too much. So basically, it's just Yassib, son of Ghalib at this point. But he would just be called son of Ghalib, basically.
Okay.
Ibn Ghalib. Who is this middle-aged seasoned warrior from what would be today Spain. He's off the book, as the alignment suggests. He is Muslim, and he has the gifts: engage, take a blow, bare-blooded, and rescue the hero. And no burdens.
Okay, let me talk about that in 1 sec. I'm putting up just a quick note for myself about these followers, and then So first follower was, and I could expand this now. Hold on a second while I put that picture. I'm going to expand this for a minute so I can actually see. All right, so followers.
This is all also in that file I sent you.
Right. No, I know.
Text
I know, but it's helpful to me while we're actually talking about it here.
Okay.
Right. So, Aban Mundir Al. So, Aban ibn Mundir al-Falaki?
No, that was Yassib.
Oh, no, I know. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I was looking at the wrong one. Jassib ibn Ghalib.
Yes.
Anywhere close?
That's fine. I don't know our medieval Arabic pronunciation. I'm just going off the text as well. So
Ghalib. All right. Right. Okay. So Jassib ibn Ghalib. Let's talk about. So you said they have, again, engaged. They have. I think you said take the blow.
Engage, take a blow, bare-blooded, and rescue the hero.
Okay, and rescue the hero. Let's talk about bare-blooded. So bare-blooded means that the follower has advantage on strength checks and saving throws. So again, that's something that they can be used in particular contexts to be very effective in that regard. So that's cool. How did Vokilda encounter Jassib?
I will get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I first have to explain also Aban ibn Mundir al-Falaki.
Oh, yes, right.
Also, personality-wise, he's like a very jolly guy, very optimistic, and he likes to crack very terrible dad jokes.
Jassib does.
So I think that Greg will be very well able to play that one.
Those are the best jokes. I mean, clearly, this is the fact. Jassib we're talking about, who is this jolly, right? Jassib is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And he has a husband, actually, whose name is Aban ibn Mundir al-Falaki. So Aban, son of Mundir, and al-Falaki, I think, means the scholar or the well-read one, something like that. I forgot. I looked this all up. It's like a thing with medieval Arabic names that like they get like in addition that like describes their job or where they are from. Type of title. So Greg would be the author, for example.
The author.
the author or something, or of where are you from again? Baltimore?
No, originally from
Baltimore now,
New
right?
York, but really Connecticut I think of as my home state.
Connecticut, yeah. Of Connecticut, basically would
Of
be
Connecticut.
like, yeah, that would be like an equivalent of that.
Got it.
So he's also middle-aged, and he is like a big old nerd. Really likes to talk about his hobbies and doesn't know when to shut up, like me.
I see.
Yeah, he is the husband of Ibn Ghalib.
Okay.
And yeah, these two, they met back in Spain, and then decided to just travel and explore north, and ended up in Xanten, where they joined the court of the king of Xanten. And when Vokilda decided to set out on her own, they were like, "Hey, we'll just tag along. That seems like fun." Yeah, that's why they hang out, basically. His gifts are Engage, Rescue the Hero, and Lore of Kings.
Ah, that's a good one. So Lore of Kings is that the follower knows many stories about the rulers of the Manish world and many names of kings, queens, and other leaders. You may activate the follower to gain advantage on a relevant intelligence, like legends check is what it's called. And the follower is not spent. So basically you can just be like, "Tell me more, Aben Ibn Mundir al-Falaki." And it'll be like, "Certainly. Then the next thing that happened was blah, blah, blah." So that is the Lore of Kings, which is very cool.
So these two characters are explicitly inspired by Ahmad ibn Fadlan, who was an early medieval scholar from Saudi Arabia, I think, somewhere there, who is best known for his traveling records from when he traveled up to what I think to like somewhere in the Baltics.
Okay.
I don't remember which are like the corresponding places in current day, but most people here might know him as the protagonist of the 13th Warrior, featuring Antonio Banderas. Basically, it's like a big thing that like a lot of like the actual writings of the time we have like early medieval days that weren't written down later by Christian monks, were often written by travelers from the Arabic world.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Saudi Arabia and Morocco and those places. I decided to put them in Spain because like technically that doesn't really add up time-wise, because I think the Umayyad Empire was a few hundred years later. But yeah, why not?
I mean, it's all a bit timey-wimey,
anachronistic
right?
anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah.
Wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, so the based inspired by that one, and of course Ibn Yaqub, who was a Jewish scholar who we know from that people in Hedeby used to wear eyeliner, for example.
Yeah.
So that's like the inspiration. And I think he was from Spain. That's why I put them in Spain, actually.
It's very cool. And I love the idea that it involves travel, that they took to actually get to this kingdom. And you too are a traveler now and are going to be part of like going on. So I like that idea. Okay.
I just think it's a very important aspect of like this whole genre, I guess.
Yep.
Genre of history.
Yep.
Can you call it that? That I think is often overlooked, considering how important like all of this is. Like even Fadlan gets referenced in everything that says like anything to do with like vaguely Nordic, Germanic history, for example. Yeah, wanted to reference that really badly. And then next we have Rigmod.
Otherwise known as Granny Lavender Hope Singer. No, just kidding.
No, it might seem that way, but no, she is okay. So Rigmod is a very, very, very old lady. Nobody knows how old she is actually. Like she is also lives in Xanten.
And as you can see, chat, she's also a mod. I just want to be clear. Just want to be clear.
But yeah, she is like kind of like the spiritual mentor guide in this group, because one of the things in the system is that at the beginning of every adventure, there's basically a fortune telling. I don't remember what it's exactly called.
It's called the portent, and we will talk about that a little bit.
Yes. And I like to think that Rigmod actually does that for this group of people.
Yes, that's a great idea. I love that image. Trends that'll have to be like the hawk or like the wolf will bring things like it's a nut and a stick, and that means this. But no, that's awesome that Rigmod does that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, she's actually inspired on a character from a really, really terrible movie that I watched years ago, which is I think it's called Ring der Nibelungen or something. It's like basically this really bad adaptation of the Nibelungen saga.
Okay.
Where they gave this kind of like old lady, wise woman, fortune teller, sidekick to Brunhilde, the Queen of Iceland, which I just think is a really cool concept that I wanted to steal. But the movie is not good.
Yeah. Did you say how she came to be connected with Vokilda?
Well, she lives in town and she's just like the local wise woman. Like everybody knows her.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, she's like known to be very creepy and cryptic, possibly insane. Nobody's sure if she's even human. Like who knows? Like she's also like inspired by like all these stories that you have about Odin. Where it's like, oh, he like disguises himself.
Went
as
around
like
to different guises, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, like so, like some people like talk like, oh, maybe she's like Odin in disguise, something like that, right? And also like this whole idea of like that, like in the Eddas, it's like suggested that so-called women's magic, Thaser, is kind of an evil, bad thing, witchcraft, basically. It's a bit unclear, and also again Christian influence, blah blah. And so like the idea that she practices this old, ancient kind of women's magic.
Yeah.
That is like feared, possibly. So.
That's super
creepy
cool.
Old lady.
That's super cool. And then. And last but actually wait. Sorry, burdens first of all.
Yeah. Okay,
and
so
gifts and all that. Does she do any of these have burdens?
Yes. They have burdens. That comes next.
Okay.
Okay. So her gifts are engage, rescue the hero, Raven Mind, and Seer.
So Raven Mind, the follower has advantage on intelligence checks and saving throws, which seems very logical. And then you said the other one was Seer. Which means you activate the follower to roll a d20, and you can spend the follower to substitute that roll for any d20 roll made by the player. So basically can re-roll a d20. No, not that way. It was this way. Something like that.
Yes.
Okay. What about burden for...
Yeah, sure. Okay, she is slow. Because, she's a frail old lady. Like, I did want to go with frail first, but I was like, no, it's less like that she, like, breaks her bones easily. It's more that she just can't move.
I'll arrive at some point. Time will come in its own way. Yes. Okay.
When in doubt, we have to carry her.
Okay. And then, of course, this last one, and I love the work that Tari put into this. His name is Guy.
No,
it's like, I need a guy. Yeah, sure it is.
It's Guy.
Sure it is. No, it's different. See, it's Guy. Yeah, sure it is.
Okay, so the thing is, like, he started out like, okay, I don't know what else to do now. I did, like, all the cool, fun concepts. What else? Okay,
his armor's red, by the way, Chad. It's supposed to be. It's a red shirt, okay?
But, like, I think he's going to become one of my favorite characters because the concept is just so much fun. So Guy is, like, in his late 20s, early 30s. Also one of Vokilda's brothers and aunts. And it's like, he's not from Xanten. Like, it's unsure where he's from, somewhere further west, so like, maybe he's Frankish.
Okay.
Which is why his name is pronounced Guy, not Guy. Because it is the French pronunciation.
Right.
So...
his name is Mignon, but it's French, so it's Mignon. Like, it's totally different.
Filet mignon, yeah.
Yeah, filet mignon.
And he doesn't talk much. He like mainly communicates and just grunts and nods, like, which I think Greg will very much enjoy playing out. Very stoic and serious. very stoic and serious guy.
No, Guy. Very stoic and serious Guy.
Yeah. He met Vokilda on one of her past adventures where they just ran into each other and he just decided to tag along. And the interesting part about him is that he's a Christian, I think, is interesting.
Yeah, neat.
Because like the ideas like where I placed Vokilda like geographically, that's like very much on the border, quote unquote. There was no border between like where Christianity had arrived already and where it hadn't. So I think it's an interesting idea. He's from further out west, which would have been earlier, would have been Christianized earlier.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Again, I'm not a historian. I just read a bunch. I might misremember things, so do your own research.
Yeah.
Triffid,
I don't know what Norse is for beefsteak, or beefsteak, or beefsteak. It would be funny if it was like Guy also happened to somehow be Norse for something. Okay, what about gifts? What does he have?
Yeah. So his gifts are engage, take a blow, and nimble.
He is nimble. So unlike the previously mentioned Rickmod, he is advantage on dexterity checks and saving throws. Burden?
Yes, he's awkward.
Doomed to die. He's awkward. So yeah, basically he has disadvantage on charisma checks because they're like, and what of you? Like, it's just like, I demand that you be courteous. Like, you know. Okay, so yeah, so he will be awkward.
He can't speak. It's just that he chooses not to.
Yeah, no, of course. Absolutely. So those are the followers that are listed. Now, again, the reason that followers matter here is that first of all, you can have not all of these followers will be used at all times. These will you'll generally have a couple of followers that you will bring with us. In fact, the number of followers is twice the hero's proficiency bonus, which in this case is 2, plus your charisma modifier. And Vokilda's charisma modifier was, if you remember.
Yeah, that is... Oh, my modifier. Well, her stat is 18, so that is a plus...
3. So that means 5. So she has 5 followers that she can bring with her, whereas in Tren's character's case, not so much. Speaking of Tren, Tren is going to be back with us right now. Tren has returned. Welcome back.
The layout.
Yep, I'll fix that. Okay, so Tari has just gotten through the etymology of her first follower's name. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've gone through all the followers now.
Actually, there is actually a bunch of etymology that I went into every day.
Yeah. That we're maybe going to give a miss to right now. But one thing to note about this is that you can only have that maximum of followers, but you can also, as you're going through, you will be able to find NPCs who could become followers. And those are followers that may end up staying with you for part of the adventure or theoretically could come with you permanently. But if you bring them permanently, you can't go above that follower limit, which means you'd have to let one of them go. So very much think along the lines of, any RPG you might have played as a video game forum chat where you got like 3 people and you're like, okay, I can't have 8 people at once. So you 2 go back to the home or go back to the ship or go back to whatever. And the rest of you come with me. That's going to be a version of this too. So if, Vokilda is wandering around and finds someone more complex and engaging than someone like Guy, I'm just joking. I actually think I will like Guy as well. I'm just basically giving you a hard time. But you can then you recruit that follower for possible use. You also need to be able to reward your crew or your follower. And there's one thing to remember here, which is that there are conditions that can create strife, which is if a follower is paid much less than anyone else, so a follower that receives half the pay of the next least paid follower gains the envious and sullen burdens. And if a follower with more gifts gets less money than a follower with fewer gifts, the follower with more gifts would gain the unappreciated and sullen burdens. And if you can't afford to pay your followers at all, then all of the unpaid ones gain the unappreciated and sullen burdens. So they do have to think about them and maintaining them in this way. They can also improve their followers, and something which I think is going to be pretty fun, they can also journal their followers if they choose. They don't have to, in between sessions, which can have mechanical benefits to them. So that's something which I think is pretty neat about these followers. Okay, last thing that I want to talk about here is monsters. That the typical sort of workflow is that the hero will hear of this monster or this obstacle that must be overcome. They will journey to reach that thing on their ship. They will, having gone there, go to the mead hall or the equivalent of a mead hall, the thing that stands in for a mead hall, and gather information about said creature, and then they will go to try to deal with the creature and then return home. That's basically kind of the gameplay loop, if you will, of how this operates, although there may be some slight, variations here and there. But the thing I do want to talk about before we sort of close up shop here with this Session Zero is I do want to talk a little bit here about the portent. There is inspiration in this game, as I said, but the inspiration actually is split in this game into three separate pools. There is the hero pool for inspiration, which works very similar to D&D. When you need benefits for an ability check or a combat attack or whatever, you can use the hero pool to gain inspiration. There is also the follower pool, which is that the follower pool can be used to gain followers the benefit of inspiration, which may be beneficial depending on what you're having the follower do, like, say, on a death saving throw, for example. And then the monster pool, which is my pool to use, and that is what allows me to get inspiration from the monster pool. Quick note about these pools. To gain inspiration from the hero pool, the player must in some way link the current events to the text of the portent, which we will talk about the portent here in just a second, as I said. Same thing if you want to get inspiration from the follower pool. You can have a certain number of points, but to actually access it, you need to be able to say, as was the case with these greedy waves, the person who lost their necklace overboard dove in to retrieve it because it was their only heirloom of their family or something. Like, to connect it with the actual portent itself to gain inspiration, I need to do the same thing for the monster portent element of this as well. So what is this portent thing, you say? Like, what is this about? Well, let us talk about the way that the portent actually works. So before this happens, the portent is assembled as follows. The player rolls 1d4. So let's actually have one of you fine folks do this. You could just do it like on wherever, like on Roll20, or if you're not on Roll20, I guess I didn't give you the link. So you can just like roll like a d4 in front of you or whatever. Yeah, like that's fine. Okay. This is how the portent will be generated. Okay. Tari, would you be so kind as to roll 1d4 for me, please?
3.
Okay,
Sorry,
3.
spoke Dutch there for a second.
3. 3 is the number. Okay. So 3 is noun adjective. And so what noun adjective means is that shows you what the table is going to roll. So you roll once on a noun and then once on an adjective. So to roll on the noun thing, what you're going to do then is you're going to roll 1d6. This is for the noun part of this. So roll 1d6 for me, please.
3.
3 again. Okay, that is boast. And then I need a second 1d6. Actually, it may not be boast. Depends what the other one is.
5.
Okay, it's not boast. So it is salt water. So that means the noun is now salt water. Salt
Yum.
water. Okay, now the adjective.
That works so well, actually.
2 1d6s again for me, please.
Because her journey would, of course, start out with her leaving Santon and sailing down the river until she reaches the North Sea, which would be saltwater.
And also... Sorry, I'm sorry. Before you go on, I just forgot to mention, sorry. Because that was on the chart, on the little paper that I'm looking at, that's blue. Blue means that the follower pool would get an inspiration. So the follower pool has 1 inspiration in it.
Are you writing these down, or do I have to do it?
I'm writing them down. This is just for
Okay.
testing. We're not actually going to use this for Session
okay,
Zero.
this is not the actual point.
No, it's not the actual thing, no.
Just a demonstration.
Yes.
It's
so
an unimportant portent.
Nah,
it's
an
unimportant. Yeah. Okay, salt water, so adjective. So what are those two D6s?
A 1 and a 6.
Okay, a 1 and a 6, that is red gold, and that is green, which means that we now have 1 inspiration in the hero pool. 1 inspiration. Okay, so that is red gold, which means when you put that together, the first half of the portent is red gold salt water. So that is the first half of the portent.
Nice.
Now, the second half of the portent, again, is 1d4, so we do that first for the structure.
A 4.
Okay, that is noun. And so now the next thing you do is you're going to roll 2d6 for me again. 1d6 and 1d6.
A 2 and a 5.
Okay. 2 and a 5 is waves. Appropriate.
All
okay.
the water-themed ones.
And that's also blue again. So now we have 2 inspiration in the follower pool. And now 2 more times for the 1d6, please. Again on the noun.
A 1 and a 6.
Faith, which is the player pool. So, faith, which is, that means that we would have, so we have 2 inspiration in the follower pool, 2 inspiration in the hero pool. So what that would lead to then is buried threaded. So the full portent then would be red gold, comma, salt water, waves, comma, faith. So that's the portent that would be used for Tari's adventure, specifically for the journey that would take place. And in the case of that, what we would then do is you would prepare and ready the ship. And then I, based upon the portent, would develop a certain amount of challenge. So the first element of the portent was, I forgot to write these down, but I think it was, let's see, noun, adjective was red gold. 1-6, I think it was. Was it? It was 1-6, I think, or 6-1. I forgot to write it down.
1-6 was the second. Was the last one.
The first one though, for red gold.
3.
It was 3.
5, I think.
3 and 5. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So what that would mean is 3 would be people, and then when I go over to people, 5 would be this, an abandoned vessel. So you would have found an abandoned vessel on your voyage, which would affect the adventure, and you would have to work with that, and I would construct something around that. So that's the way that challenge would work. And generally, you have a couple of challenges, so you use a set of grid numbers from the portent. So let's say you resolve that one challenge successfully. Then we would move to the saltwater part, and the salt water part. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the first one. The second one was red gold, right? So
The second was red gold. Yeah.
So red gold, which was, let's see, I think that was also 3 and something, wasn't it? Or am I wrong? No, it was 1 and 6. That was the 1 and the 6, I think.
The last one was 1 and 6.
1 and 6.
I don't know. I'm very, very bad with numbers. Don't ask me to remember numbers. I can't even recall my own.
I think she rolled 3 twice because she didn't say it in Dutch the second time.
Yeah. I wonder how I got red gold then. Because you did noun the first time. Well, all right. Let's assume for the. I need to remember to make the write the numbers down.
This is going fantastic.
But regardless, no. It is going fine actually. 6 and 1. So what that would mean then is that your second challenge would be a water-based challenge, and it would involve, in this case, shoals or reefs that you would need to travel through this narrow strait to avoid being damaged by the rocks under the water. So basically the portent...
Also very fitting.
Yeah. So the portent is not only setting up the pool of inspiration that the hero will use during their adventure, it also sets up the obstacles that they will face on the voyage, and can sometimes have an effect even on the actual let me go hunt down the monster part, but that comes later. But mostly it affects the voyage, which I think is all pretty cool. That it's all associated with this one way or the other. And of course, it's just a framework. So I'm not like, you found some shoals. Roll the check. Like I'm going to, I hope I'm a better storyteller than that. And then I'm actually able to construct something that is interesting as a component of it. Then the hero will land. They will see their first sights. And then they will have their meeting in the mead hall. And I'm not going to go through all that now, because that is something that I actually want to surprise, let us say, the players with. Okay. Last note then that I want to make before I let these folks go. I was about to say, before I let them go completely, yes. In that particular case, yes. I want to mention, and of course they are sworn to honesty and not try to go look these up anywhere, which I'm sure they would not do because they are made of more seriously stuff than that. I didn't even finish what I was saying. You have no idea what it is. Okay, so the ones that we're going to have here is one of them, and I don't know which one of you is going to have this. One of the two of you will be dealing with an adventure that we call the Hermit's Sanctuary. And we don't know what that is, but one of you will be dealing with that. The second of these is going to be, let me track it down. Hold on. I want to find the second title that I had. Wait a second. Nope, not that one. There's this one. There are a lot of adventures, which is part of the point of this. Okay, hang on. I almost have it. Nope, it's not that either. I have so many good ones. Like, I was like, maybe I could do this. Okay. This one.
I have no idea what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to give you just the basic sort of name of the other one. I think it might have been in Trails of the Twin Seas. Okay, let me see. Because one of them was Hermit's Sanctuary. And the second one...
So what are you eating, Tren?
Tortilla.
Exciting!
Okay. Second one, I believe, although I will confirm, is Horror at Harrogate. So there are two different adventures they're going to go on, and they won't know any more than the fact that one of them will be doing one of them, one of them will be doing the other. Now, you might ask, chat, well, why are you saying that? Because this adventure, this campaign, is kind of structured a little bit around, almost literally, Monster of the Week, or in this case, Monster of the Session, in that they will be dealing with
so
these
many
different...
boyfriends for Tren.
They will do. It's going to be a very different sessions between Tari and... I murderized the monster.
I'm also into monsters.
Mine will be the horror version of the Love Boat. And...
Well, I love the image of like one side of the whale road is like the monster numbers are just like dwindling, and the other side they're actually increasing, and you're like, how is this like? No, that of course they will both not do anything exactly that way, but they will be involved with very much like going to deal with different monsters across different places. Although, as time goes on, those things may begin to coalesce into sort of more comprehensive narrative after they've done this for a little while. There is, for example, a King Beowulf thing, which Handiwork Games has just come out of Kickstarter, which I think is really interesting too, which looks at this on a kingdom level, which we may or may not consider more of as we go along. We'll see. But in any case, so that's what we're going to be looking at. And the way this will work is we're going to be starting in January. And we just discussed this, and I think we more or less have this set. That Tari and I are going to be doing the Gamebook illustration stream, finishing up Chasms of Malice. I think we'll be finishing it up. We'll see. That'll be on Tuesday, January 2nd. So that'll be, what is that? I think it's two Tuesdays from now, 2 weeks from now. And then the week after that, Tari will be doing her first adventure with Vokilda. And then, hey, Tom. And then the week after that, the 16th, Tren will be doing his first adventure with a Realfer, and that'll be his part of the adventure. So each one of these folks is going to be with me once per month, and you watching it back at home or watching in the VOD later will get 2 sessions of Beowulf a month. That's basically how this is going to work. And then we will see how their characters develop over time with the followers that you see above. So I am super excited about it. there's a lot of poetry and exploration and quite obviously heroism and stuff like that you're going to see. Full out what, Tren?
Poetry in motion. When he turned her eyes to me.
Yes. I'm going to be expecting full out singing as well from everybody.
Nope,
full blast singing. And stuff like that. Not exactly, Tom. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Beowulf, but I'm going to let these folks go after that. Before I do that, though, so I guess what I'll just end with for these two is final thoughts about what you're hoping for from the campaign. Tren, I know that a lot of this is discovery of a real through play, but do you have any sort of the vibe that you're hoping to get from the campaign in some sense, I guess, which is clearly different from an Eberron vibe. So, for example,
right, and I think you kind of touched on it when you were, admittedly, somewhat jokingly talking about, on one side the numbers of monsters are dwindling, on the other they're going up.
Yeah.
I think that just means that at some point, Adolfo will realize that his purpose in life is to basically set up the erotic monster version of the Island of Misfit Toys, and just all of the monsters are like, oh, let's go over there. And he's like, yeah.
And Vokilda's like, why are there so many monsters? They just keep coming. I don't. Yeah. It's going to be a good time. So.
And she shows up to kill one of them. Is like, bitch, get away from my man. Kind of thing. That'll be where our characters first meet each other.
Right. Right. That'll be great. What happened to your Beowulf campaign? Well, they all sort of killed each other. What? Well, it was a long story.
She was a monster who was trying to kill my man.
Exactly. So it's going to be a good time, though. I'm excited to play it. I'm also excited. I've been talking to Tren about playing a duet system with him and having a GM for one player thing for a while too. So I'm glad that we're getting a chance to do this. Do you? Where will the folks, I guess, see you next, Tren? Is my question.
Here
on the internet,
probably.
On the 30th, right? For some Eberron.
Yeah, for more Eberron.
Yep.
Aside from that, there are a lot of hello, Fox. There are a lot of
hello.
What are those called? Narrations of mine that you can listen to, which isn't really seeing me, but theater of the mind kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is done and is going to be coming out soon and is currently available for pre-order is the link which I just put into the chat, which is the Inner Space and Outer Thoughts book from NASA and JPL authors and whatnot. And it's awesome. So much fun.
It's going to be super cool. Yeah. I am excited for that. And Tren, thank you. I'm very excited for this as well. But I will see Tren.
And this has nothing to do with me. I've been binging The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix. You would not like it. There's way too much body horror in it for you. But oh my God, it's good.
Is it good? Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I had a student of mine from my revenge tragedy class from 5 years ago reach out to me about a film called Old Boy, which I've heard of but have not seen.
Oh my God, I love Old Boy.
Yeah, and was saying she had just seen it, and she's like, it kept reminding me of your class because of this whole vengeance thing. And I'm like, yeah, the whole thing is about the guy pursuing vengeance, from what I understand. But the reason I thought of it is
the movie.
Well, right. She had the exact same reaction, I think. And I mean, she probably wouldn't have known this per se. She's like, it may be a little much for you. And I'm like, yeah, probably going to give that a miss. But
it's like in the first episode of Fall of the House of Usher, they're in a church. Obviously there's a funeral or something going on, and the whatever the priest is reading is not the Bible. It is clearly Poe. He is reading from something Poe has written, and I'm like, I'm like, that sounds familiar, but I haven't read the Bible like that, and it's like, wait a minute, no, hang on, that's Edgar Allan Poe,
yeah,
and it rhymed. Holy shit, that's one of his poems. What's going on? And it's all worked in. All the Poe stuff is worked in together with this modern day twist. It's so cool. I love it.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I do love me some Poe, even if the horror of the visual horror maybe not so much, but that's cool. But thank you, Tren. I'm excited. I'll see you on the 30th, but I'm excited for this next month too. Mm-hmm. Last but certainly not least, Tari, again, thank you for the spectacular art. You will see more of this art, by the way, chat, being seen over the next few sessions and so on. But this is all this that you see in front of you is 95% Tari's work and very little bit font-wise percent based on the Beowulf stuff, but mostly Tari's work. So thank you for that. And I'm very excited about all of the followers and the character backstories and all that kind of good stuff too. So same thing, I guess. Any closing thoughts about your feelings about the campaign, or like what you're looking forward to the most, etc. And then where will the folks see you next?
Well, first of all, thank you very much.
Oh.
And now her internet is.
I was going to say, like, what is this? See, this is how it works. Like, your internet goes, monsters go up.
I just really love this whole character development.
Whoop,
Hello?
Whoop, hold on. You're
Hello?
frozen. Yeah, I hear you, but you're frozen. Okay, you're back. You got
Test,
super,
test.
super
1, 2,
slow.
3.
Okay, I think it's back. All right, let's try that again. Say you were saying.
Slow. Hello?
Yes, you're back. Try that
Is
again.
everything fine now?
Yes, everything
Okay,
seems to be
cool.
back to normal.
Internet had a hiccup.
Yep.
I love this whole character design stuff, obviously, and like doing like research for this was a lot of fun. Like digging through like various manuscripts, even though, and that was like really a fucking pain in the arse. Like, of course, like all of these old English manuscripts, right? They are all digitized for like what's it called? The Library of Britain, I think is what it's called.
Right.
And the website is down, has been down for weeks.
Oh, really?
Because of like cyber attacks or something.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
So I had to like rely on like various single screenshots and stuff. It was fine. It was fine. I would have liked to like actually go through whole manuscripts because that's like kind of my jam. Just looking at the pretty pictures. But yeah, what I hope to see from this campaign, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I've never done a duet game before. But what I think will definitely be there will be a lot of like really stupid jokes. The way I know.
Trends in mine will be a lot of like sort of intense role playing mixed with like references to, you know, how hot the monsters are theoretically and stuff like that, right? From Trent's point of view, and Tari and I will just be sort of like our just be back and forth with like puns and then like making fun of each other over something or other that happened.
Yes.
That's
as
basically
it
how
goes.
that'll work. But there will be both humor and seriousness in these too, because that's how the play actually works in this context, and I think we'll see that as it goes through. I'm very excited for both of them. But otherwise, you're saying.
Yeah, and obviously, like I will go on constant tangents about history, this archaeology, that saga, this and that, and
while backpedaling from the 30-foot tall beast, right? Just kind of like,
yeah,
you know, fascinating
this
subject.
Is a reference to that one stanza in the saga of so and so.
She's like a tour guide on full retreat, like, and on our right we have, you know, like.
How does he keep finding me? Because you're carrying this stupid little flag.
And meanwhile, Guy's like, he's sort of backpedaling.
Oh yeah, that's also something that I'm really looking forward to, how you're gonna interpret these characters that I came up with.
Me too. It's gonna be fun.
Yes. I don't know if I'm like the worst or the best player for like doing like the whole like the Word document thing that I sent you with like all the follower info. Both. Yeah, I figured.
Both. No, it's no. Actually, you know what it is. Like I love the backstory, and both of you actually as players in many like characters that I've played with you in these campaigns, you know, back channel me with messages about this is happening. Like that literally just happened with Tren and me the other day. Like back channeling about different things that are happening. That is incredibly useful to me, and I would say that about like 65 to 70% of it actually does get foregrounded at some point in the adventure. And there's some that I just am never able to kind of pull in for whatever reason. Yeah. So the only thing there for me is that when I get a big backstory thing, I always want to be anxious. Like a lot of it is like working in the background and does have this effect that eventually comes forward, but not all of it. And so I'm sometimes like, but the cool part I wrote in the third paragraph, like that I can't, you know, that I always feel a little bad if I can't get all of it in. But listen, I love having that.
Really short.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Really
no, I like having
essentials.
that stories that's there. Absolutely.
Just like a baseline for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, very very excited to see that. So.
And you two will see each other in this campaign. As I say, it'll be a while, but your characters may encounter each other again. So I guess for the meantime, you probably should wish each other, you know, good hunting, whatever that hunting means to you. He said.
Rabbits, usually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's like a Nordic, like, may the waves rise to meet, your foam-flecked ship or something. I don't know if there's a...
The word is hey.
Hey? Literally, it's just hey?
Hey just means goodbye.
Hey.
It means hello and goodbye. Hey.
Hey.
I think, anyway, in like modern Swedish or something. I don't know.
Okay.
There's probably something in like the Havabal or something. I don't know.
You sure it's not heya? Heya.
Hey.
No, I was thinking about heya.
Oh.
Heya.
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 Heya. Heya.
God damn it, Nuber. Heya. It's an inside joke for largely for Tari.
It's
that
not
was
that much of an insider joke.
It's not that
I think
inside of a
most
joke.
people in
Tren
this
would know it
audience
too,
have
but it
played
was just
Baldur's
like
Gate.
so one of us, only one of us here has a literal tattoo of the Baldur's Gate logo here.
What?
So
That would be weird. Who would do such a thing?
who would do that? But it's great. I'm excited to have both of you here. I genuinely wanted, these two. I was like, I was sad about Char Adventures ending, but at the same time, I'm like, but these two are perfect for this. So I'm very excited about that. So, chat, can we get some early love for what is going to be the amazing play of these two amazing people and dear friends, TariToons and Tren Sparks. Thanks to you both. Very excited for this, and I will see you both in a couple weeks for either illustrations or roleplay stuff soon. Bye for now.
Bye. Au revoir.
All right. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you for the cheers. Thank you. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. And I do want to say, again, like so Tari's obviously been very pumped up. Tren is also excited too. But like, if you just look at like it's just so emotive, I think, right? It just is emotive and evocative. Like, you get the sense of what these followers might be thinking about, and the sort of characters that they represent. I really think that's cool. And it's somewhat muted as well in the color. There's almost sort of like a muted color to reflect what the rest of this is. So I'm very excited for this, and I think the system itself is a very cool system. The Hermit's Sanctuary, depending on who goes first, I haven't decided which hero is going to get which adventure first. I have to think about that over the next week or so. But that is going to be the order. So January 2nd is going to be Tari and me with Chasms of Malice doing the Fighting Fantasy Gamebook illustration. The 9th is going to be Tari and me with Session 1 of Beowulf Age of Heroes, the first one with Vokilda. And then Tren is going to be here the 16th with Session 2, and that's going to be with Arilfur, and that'll be their separate adventures. So there will really be two separate adventures going on at the same time. If you think of like the first one being the Hermit's Sanctuary, that's going to be one direction, right? And then the second one is going to be whatever it is, like Harrow at Harrowgate or whatever it is, and that's going to be the other one. So those are going to be going in parallel. Both of these heroes are going to be doing this. So it's, in a way, two adventures that I have to keep track of. But because it's only one person each, that makes it a little bit easier not to have to juggle, making sure that everyone gets time on stage, because they will have time on stage. So as their individual people. So that's going to be cool stuff. All right. Now, before we wrap up for not the day, but only wrap up on my stream, because I am going to be over at GogCom's Twitch channel at 4 p.m. with the conclusion of Solasta, Palace of Ice. First of all, we do have something to work on, and that is that we have to do the next game vote. So here is the next game link, folks. This is what I'm going to be playing next week in the final Tuesday of the month, and it's going to be one of these. Right now, it's a very close battle between Dungeon Siege. Oh, hello. My cat has arrived. Dungeon Siege, Metal Gear Solid 3, and Expeditions Rome. Right now, Dungeon Siege and Metal Gear Solid 3 are locked in a very powerful battle. So now's the time to get your vote in if you have not already done so. You should get your vote in. And one of my cats, Ganesh, has decided to reveal himself to you. There we go. Hi, Ganesh. I will put him back. I'm going to bring him over so you folks can look at it. This is Ganesh. I can't really hear. There we go. Hi. Ganesh is like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Okay, all right. You Let me put you back where you belong. No, he is not a Maine Coon cat. He is a Siberian. He is almost 9 pounds. He is actually his best friend, who we also is ours, is named Sherbert, and Sherbert is like 0.2 of a pound lighter, and has been that way from the beginning. And you would never have guessed it. Like if you just look at this cat alongside Sherbert, Sherbert looks like a much lighter cat. I mean, sorry, a much heavier cat. Not heavy, but like, you know, just bigger because of the fur. Because Sherbert has this big floofy fur, and Ganesh's fur is not as floofy. But Ganesh is, let me see if I can actually zoom you in on him. There we go. So there's Ganesh. He is a very handsome cat, as you can see. And he's also an incredible athlete. Like his ability to jump is like unparalleled. He is no joke about his ability to be able to jump up. And he's a very nice cat. Both he and Sherbert are very nice cats. This one, Ganesh, is much more the explorer cat. He's very much more like, let me jump in areas that I probably shouldn't and all that stuff. Let me, like, you know, he loves all, excuse me. He also loves getting into bags. I have no idea why. Like, if you put a bag over him, he will literally just, or like, not over him, but like next to him, he'll literally jump into the bag. I don't understand why. And then he just like purrs at you. So I don't know why he loves bags, but he loves like these small areas. Yeah. And as you can see, he's involved in some hardcore grooming as we speak. I've never owned cats before, and it's been a very strange experience for me to watch, because I've always owned dogs, to watch creatures that are like this, like want to make sure that they're clean all the time. So they're actually very clean. And obviously they use the litter box when they're supposed to and all that good stuff. So, and Ganesh is today, he is, let's see, he was born in late May. So June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So he is, he will be in about 2 weeks, he'll be 7 months. He's about 6.5 months old. The bag thing is cats being cats. Yeah. You put a piece of paper now, he would just come up to and lay on a purring. Yeah. Like cats are just being cats. So yeah, he is 6.5 months old. And so Siberians can get up to as much as 18 pounds, sometimes even 20 pounds, but like probably most Siberians are going to settle in about 14, 15 pounds, which is big for a cat. It's not very big for a dog, but it's big for a cat. So this is a big boy. So yeah, the picking him up and stuff like that, they're very used to being picked up and petted and all that kind of stuff. So, but they, especially in this scenario, he was like, look, I came up here so I could hang out with you on my cat tree and like groom myself and then probably go to sleep. So that's what I'm doing. So I don't know what you're doing over there. But anyway, so that is Ganesh. And if I see Sherbert later, I will, then we'll definitely have him show up as a part of it. So there is. See, Triffid, you said the other day, you're like, well, if the cats even show up. See, now, our patience has been rewarded with the presence of the cat. The cool thing about this, actually, is they really do spend a lot of time. They do spend a whole bunch of time with each other. They will always upstage you, but yeah, they do really they like spending time with people. Like, almost never do they want to be just by themselves in a room. Like, they'll be down with my daughter in her room. Sometimes they'll hang out playing with my son in the kitchen. Or they'll be hanging out with my mother-in-law, who lives with us on the first floor. Or they'll be, you know, the only place they're not allowed is they're not allowed into the basement, because that would be a bad idea. They're not allowed into, like, we have, like, this one unfinished closet, so they're not allowed in there. They are only allowed up here when I'm up here, and the only reason for that is because of there's people were like, oh, you should get cable protectors. There is no way I've tried to be as organized as I can, and still there's no way that I could get enough cable protectors to protect all of the cables beneath my freaking desk. And I kind of need them, so I can't have them chewing on things. And they're not really into chewing cables anyway, but I just, so they are not allowed to be up here when someone is not up here with them. But otherwise, if they want to come up and hang out or whatever, that's fine. But they are very, they're very like, they really want to be around humans all the time. They want to be around their pack. And as you can see, they are very focused on being with each other. So that even this. He has, so he immediately started with purring. She goes to sleep on the windowsill. Oh, that's, yeah. The thing about him too is that he, on the purring level, he will purr, but his purr is a little bit more, how do I put it? It's a little bit more like, not ragged isn't the right term, but like kind of uneven. Whereas Sherbert's purr is just like, brrr, like it's like, it's amazing. Like it's this like very low running, comfortable engine. Like I was over in my little book nook that I have over here on the one side of the office at one point doing some reading, and all of a sudden like Sherbert comes up, and like Sherbert is like stalking towards me purring, just like purr, 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 and then like gets up on the chair and then gets up behind on the windowsill and lies down. But it was like, this is a good spot. You will stay exactly where you are. I am showing you my incredible happiness. Purr, purr, purr. Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, right? But like, you can't be sure, and I can't take a chance. I cannot have them chewing on cables. Can't do that. But so far they haven't done that. The other thing that's funny about them, now they love treats, and they obviously, they feed, they eat food regularly and all that, and they eat more as kittens. Later on, their metabolism slows down a little bit, whatever. Although they don't fully mature until they're about 5 years old. They stop growing before that. Physically, they'll be stopping growing somewhere between a year and like 18 months is where they actually stop physically growing. But they will be mature as cats once they get to like 4 or 5 years old. But the interesting thing about, and I completely forgot what I was going to say because I was just thinking about the chewing on cables thing. The food. The thing about the cats that I find interesting is they're not that driven by food. Like they eat and they drink plenty of water and all that, but like they're not driven by it. Like they're much more driven by play and by making sure that the litter boxes, we have a litter robot, which thank goodness for that helps a lot. And by being, grooming. But they're much more based on that than they are about like, dogs are very food driven. All of my dogs were, even though like for like a beagle's more food driven, and some of my other dogs were not as much, but they were still food driven. Cats are really not, in my experience, which I think is really interesting. Hey, Hilness, what? Guess what? What? Oh, okay. I like that music, but maybe we can give that a rest now. Okay, yes, thank you for the ooh. Oh, nice. Hey, congratulations. See, I told you. Listen, one of us I have someone here told you, congratulations. I told you that was the case. Are you at liberty to say anything about like location? You could talk about location, right? Because I think you brought it up here before. You don't have all the details yet? Okay, so you want to hold up. I guess, how would I guess what I'll say is that the location will be considerably closer to me than where Hilness currently is. I'll put it that way. I think I can safely say that. The location is considerably closer to my general locale than where Hilness is at the moment. So that's awesome. Although I've actually, I've met Hillness in person many times, and that's largely because Hillness has been able to come out either at Gen Con because he lives in Indiana, so there was that, or because he actually flew out himself, like for the Klein event last year, or earlier this year. It's almost last year, but earlier this year. 4 months in New York City. I have to play you the song by The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Down in New York City. But anyway, yeah, so congratulations. That's awesome. And of course, I teach in New York City. So that means that we will obviously be able to get together hopefully a few times, I would hope, between schedules and things like that. So that's awesome. Congratulations. That's really great. So starting in January, so January, February, March, April. Hey, that means, you're going to be out here when the Klein event happens. So you're going to be out here on January 26th for the Klein event. Maybe that means you can make your way up here. That would be pretty cool if you were able to do it. It'll be a Friday night, so it's not even a school night, But congratulations, Hillness. That's awesome. I'm not surprised based upon your expertise and everything. Why wouldn't they hire? As I said, how could they afford not to bring you on board? So that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear it. And I'm happy to provide whatever. I know you've obviously been to the city before, but I can happily provide suggestions and things like that depending on where you are. I have, of course, lived in the Bronx, and I have taught in Queens, and I've lived in Brooklyn, and I have taught in Queens for many years, and had friends who lived, and actually lived for the first 2 years of my life on Staten Island, but I'm here to tell you that I don't remember what Staten Island was. I've been on Staten Island a few times since then, of course, as well, but I can't give you any like inside info on Staten Island. Studio Manhattan, 1 bedroom in the Bronx. Okay, I'm here to tell you this. If you can get, now I understand about location, but honestly, the extra room in the Bronx, depending on where you are in the Bronx, it can be a very cool place. I mean, I lived for many years in Riverdale, which is the North Bronx, and I liked it. I mean, I like where I am more now, mostly because Connecticut is kind of more my speed, and because I love the space that we have, and all those sorts of things. But I liked Riverdale quite a bit, and I liked the Bronx. So that's not to me not an automatic slam dunk. Obviously, of course, the location being closer to where you're actually working, Studio Manhattan might be helpful, but I don't know. For me, I mean, there's a lot, but you'd have to commute, you'd have to take the subway in and whatever. So so something to think about. Anyway, congratulations. That's awesome. So, all right, chat. Last call here on this vote for the next game. So last vote again. I knew you had it. I knew you had it covered. I knew it all along. Okay, so last chance to get your vote in, chat. Very close right now. 8 votes for Dungeon Siege, 7 votes for Metal Gear Solid 3. Looks like Expeditions Rome is not going to get it done. Looks like that is not going to be the winner. So it's a very close vote between Dungeon Siege and Metal Gear Solid 3. So, and right now it's tied. It is right now tied at 8-8. So the next vote is basically going to win this. 8-8. The next vote is going to win this. And Dragon Spear already broke a tie, actually, so I know it wasn't him who did it this time. 8-8. So who will win this titanic struggle? Dungeon Siege or Metal Gear Solid? Is this you who did this? Okay, and the winner is... Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And also, hi, Akucho. Dungeon Siege. All right. So that's the game I will be playing, Dungeon Siege. I will be playing next Tuesday. So you will have a chance to see Dungeon Siege. We got another vote in for there as well. Yeah, I know, right? No, it ended up winning 10-8-1. Dungeon Siege won. So close one. Metal Gear Solid will be back. But Dungeon Siege, I'm excited. I don't actually know. I'm trying to remember if I ever played Dungeon Siege before. I feel like I might have. But I always get it mixed up with... Nox, and that's obviously not it. Yeah. The actual 3D. It's almost like it has some vague Diablo-ish things. You begin as a humble farmer. Of course you do. Yeah, it always kind of reminded me of Nox a little bit too. So... Oh, hey, what's up, Yadisak? I'm just actually wrapping up right now, but I'm sorry about that. But I'm glad that you were up to date on everything vaccine wise anyway. So that will pass at least. Oh, you're going to be in Brooklyn. Well, I also was in Brooklyn. Depends on where you are. I lived in two spots in Brooklyn. I lived on 16th and basically Park Slope in Brooklyn. And then I lived also down by 4th Avenue, not that far from where they now have the Barclays Center where the Brooklyn Nets play. I basically lived right near there as well. So I lived in both of those places. Brooklyn's also cool. No, sorry, Yadisak, because I was running. Normally I run from 12 to 3, and we just got done with our Beowulf Session Zero. But I am going to be over on GogCom's Twitch channel in about an hour and 15 minutes playing some Solasta Palace of Ice DLC. So I will be over there, and you'll be able to see more of me then. That will definitely happen. Yeah, and I'll check. I think Dungeon Siege. In fact, I'll double check here. Get Dungeon Siege from GOG. I think it's available on GOG. And so let's see. Art and music okay, so that is being handled with Tari. Okay, so then we just have this, which I'm doing. Great. Okay. Yeah. So I am probably going to be able, I think it's on GOG, which means that I'll be able to get it from GOG. And I will do that. So I will play the GOG version and I'll be able to put that up there. And so that's what we'll be doing next Tuesday. So thank you all for voting in the next game poll. It was a good, robust one. And it's going to be good times. I'm excited for it. But what I'm going to do now is, chat, I'm going to rise up on out of here. It's almost time when I would normally stop anyway. I want to make sure that I get some lunch and then get ready for Solasta at 3 p.m. Eastern. A couple of sort of global channel announcements. First of all, as I mentioned, I'm going to be over in GogCom later today, like I said. On Friday, I'm going to be back here with Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks in the evening. And then on Saturday, we will have more Starfield. Monday will be Christmas Day, and that will be my special holiday stream during the day. My family will join me, so Mrs. Arv, Little Arv, and Mini Arv will join me to play some fun game together. I don't know what it'll be, but you'll see it. And then on Tuesday, the 26th, a week from today, I'll do Dungeon Siege, and then we'll do more Solasta Palace of Ice DLC over on GogCom's Twitch channel. And that'll be the 27th. Then that Friday, so a week from this coming Friday, is going to be my Game of the Year show. That's where I rank all the games that I played this year in order, and where I talk a lot about the future, about the channel, that the year that was for the channel and my writing, and what's going to happen with my channel and writing coming up in the year to come. And so that's going to be on Friday. And then on Saturday, I am going to be with the Eberron folks, Oracle of War, probably, hopefully, wrapping up Season 3 of Eberron Oracle of War, which will be a nice way to close out 2023 and will set us up nicely for 2024. Other global announcement is that starting in January, I have made the decision that I'm going to be switching my streams back from Friday to Thursday. So I'm going to be still doing my Tuesday streams, 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on this channel, 4 to 7 or 4:15 to 7:15, depending on if I have tabletop stuff going on, over on GOG.com's Twitch channel with Pen and Pixels. That'll be Tuesday. Then I'll be streaming Thursday night, and that will usually run, instead of Friday from 9 to 1 a.m., it'll be usually Thursday night from 9 to 1 a.m. Friday night will now be an off day, although there will occasionally be times where I might do a bonus stream on Friday, but Friday will now be an off day, and then I'll be streaming Saturday as normal. So basically, it'll be just like now, except that my Friday streams are now, starting in January, going to be Thursday streams. Otherwise, we have Community D&D coming up in January as Shadowed Mage joins the rest of the Shadow crew, which is somewhat new this year. We have some veterans and some new folks to this particular campaign that are going to be joining Shadowed Mage for Dragon Heist. That'll be a good time. Obviously, Session 1 of Beowulf, Age of Heroes, will be doing that as well. And then we will also be probably coming close to finishing up Talisman Adventures and consolidating that into 2 streams a month of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And then a couple of other things I'm not at liberty to talk about yet, but more will be happening soon. Yes, for now, Triffid, but that could theoretically change. Thursday will basically usually be video games. That's correct. Tuesdays will usually be either me with Tari doing gamebook illustration streams, or Beowulf, or Patreon fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month. There'll be an occasional extra video game in there. And then Thursday nights will usually be video games. Saturdays will usually be the RPG of some sort or another. So that's basically what we're looking for. And then, yes, community D&D on Wednesdays. That's right. Again, some of that is subject to change somewhat, but definitely the days will be that. And I just think it'll just make it easier for a lot of reasons. Number one, the reason I started out when I first started streaming, I was doing it on Thursday, but then it was kind of a long day for me because I would basically get home from school and I had a late class that got out, so I didn't get home and then I was rushing and it was not good. That is no longer the case. Now I get home at a somewhat more reasonable hour on Thursdays, and Friday I really want to be able to spend with family. I spend already much of Friday with my daughter. That's our kind of hangout day together. And then I want to be able to have time with the family on Friday night, sometimes to be able to go out with my wife and stuff like that on Friday night. And then Saturday, I'm happy to keep where we are. I don't want to get rid of the Saturday. So also it evens out the days now. So it means that I stream. So if you think of Monday as the opening day of the week, Monday is off. I stream on Tuesday, right? Then Wednesday off Thursday. So 2 days later, I stream on Thursday. Friday off Saturday. So 2 days later, off after Thursday, I stream on Saturday. And then Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday. So it's 3 days, 2 days, 2 days. So it kind of evens things out, I think, nicely. And frees up a little bit of my weekend, but also makes it so that I can still have good times. And I think also that people also do things on Friday nights, and I think Thursday nights may also be a better time to get some more people coming in as well. So that's what we are going to do. So anyway, that's happening starting in January. So Fridays will stay as normal for the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to be shifting it back to Thursdays. The other thing that does is when I go to conventions, it also, since I'm almost always driving to conventions on a Friday, it means that I don't have to worry about having to just cancel a stream that day, because I will generally be able to do the stream Thursday night and then be able to drive up on Friday to the con. So yeah. Anyway, that is going to do it for me for now. I want to thank everyone for being here. But again, I'll be over on GOGCom's Twitch channel about an hour and 5 minutes or so. So definitely be there for that. If you like what you saw and heard, please follow the channel here. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube. And if you were over on my YouTube channel at one point, I had, I think, 4 or 5 people actually in there watching. Welcome. Thank you for coming there. And I hope you will come over and hang out on Twitch. And I hope that Twitch people will go and subscribe to me over on YouTube, because it's free to do that, but it definitely helps us out. So there's that. That's !ArvTube for that. Discord is !ArvCord, where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Twitter is !ArvTweets. And Blue Sky is !ArvSky. Those are the two social media things that I do. And of course, website for this is arvanelleron.com. Financially, !ArvShop is the merchandise area where you can get all kinds of stuff relating to merchandise of this channel. I don't have any Beowulf stuff there yet. Maybe I will in the future, but right now I do have Shire Adventure stuff. I do have Eberron Oracle of War stuff. I am going to be adding Expedition from the Mysterious Peak stuff, and I have some General Arvanelleron stuff as well. I just actually got a payment from them sent over, so thank you. That supports the channel, and it also gets you some cool swag, so please do consider supporting us by getting merchandise there. Also, supporting this Patreon really does make a difference. Thank you, Live Sewing. Supporting that Patreon really does help. That's !ArvTreon. That's the financial backbone of the channel. We're really trying to build that Patreon back up because I don't get nearly what you see there because of fees and things like that. It's closer to like $70-$80, which again, I'm not turning up my nose at it, but especially because I have my sub numbers that build on it as well. But still, trying to be able to pay our vocalists, pay to get overlays done, pay to get videos done, commission music and all that stuff, internet costs, like there's a lot that goes into it. And so that really does help the channel. Plus you can get cool stuff on the Patreon as well for you individually and move us towards various channel goals, including inspirations to help the players. That's !ArvTreon. Subbing to the channel is also another way to do that. So thank you for doing that or considering doing it. Dragon Spear was nice enough to do a cheer earlier today. Twitch right now, I think brand new subs not gifted subs, but I think brand new subs are like 25%, something like that. So that's really helpful. You can definitely support us that way. And of course, cheering. Twitch, I think, adds like 10% to your cheer or something now through the end of the year. So cheering helps as well. And all that stuff is very much appreciated. On the publishing side, exclamation point Icarus is my award-winning graphic novel from Athos Arts. Exclamation point Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. That is my 5e adventure and sourcebook from Alligator Alley Entertainment, which has been selling quite well. I'll be doing Return from the Forbidden Library at that Klein event, January 26th. I'll talk more about that as we get closer to it, but that will be free to attend. So I hope folks, if you were in the tri-state area, might stop by for that. But that is all to be found in the library, Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library, exclamation point Library for that, and from Alligator Alley. And then last, exclamation point Greyshade will get you over to my Grey Assassin trilogy. Right now, Greyshade and Renegade, the first 2 books in that Grey Assassin trilogy, are available. You can buy those right now at that link from Athos Arts. You can also buy the audiobook by Tren Sparks, who you just saw, of Greyshade, which was awesome, also put out by Athos Arts. You can get those now. You can also pre-order the tabletop role-playing game being designed by Brandon O'Brien, which will be out next year. You can pre-order that, and you can pre-order the final book in the novel series, which is called Heretic. I'm working on that as we speak, and that will be out next year. Very excited for that too, and you can get all that at the Greyshade link. Last but certainly not least, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter. Important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. Exclamation point Help Now, the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and reach out to others when they need help as well. And exclamation point Ukraine, UKRAINE, to help the people of Ukraine as they fight back against an illegal and illegitimate war with bravery and courage, and send the message we will do so for others in this circumstance in the future. I want to thank all of my amazing mods for being here. Thank you to Dragonspear, to Hillness, to Triffity Mats, the best mods in the business. Thank you so much as well to my Patreon supporters and subscribers, Dragon, Hillness, Triffid, Echo Alpha X5, Effect Life, TomTom. Thank you so much for being part of this channel in that way. And thank you to my wonderful viewers. Thank you to Anthony. Thank you to Betrader, to Big Poss. Thank you to Cujo. Thank you to Dino, to Jagtress, to Jason, to Live Suing. Thank you to Mark, Mr. Jonas, Nonstop, Questionable Results, Sleeping Beauty. Thank you to Spofo, T-Bank, and thank you to Yadasak. Feel better, Yadasak. And special thanks today to Handiwork Games for letting us use the art and some of the music from Beowulf, which we're going to be playing. I think we're going to put on a good show and are going to be a good vehicle to show what their system can do. I think you'll see that for yourself next month. But thank you to Handiwork Games, and a special thanks to my players, TariToons and Tren Sparks, for being awesome and amazing. And thanks, chat, to all of you for being awesome people too. That's it for me. I will see you folks over on GogCom's Twitch channel in just about an hour for Solasta Palace of Ice DLC, and then I'll be back on this channel on Friday with some Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. But that's it for now. Much love to all of you wonderful folks, and I'll see you folks in about an hour. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Bye for now.